Diamond Head Kapahulu St. Louis Heights Neighborhood Board number 5 meeting, regular meeting of September 14th, Thursday, 2023 at 6 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and jump right ahead. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here, especially to our first responders who will start off the evening with our public safety reports from Honolulu Fire Department, Waikiki Station.
Morning. Good evening, sorry. My name is Kainoa Sato. I'm the captain at the Waikiki Fire Station, third watch. These are your stats for August 2023. We had 0 structure fires, 1 wildland brush fire, 1 nuisance fire, no cooking fires, 2 activated alarms, no fires. For emergencies, we had 60 medical emergencies, 0 motor vehicle collision with pedestrians, 5 motor vehicle crash collisions, 4 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, and 1 hazardous materials incident. Fire safety tip for this month is evacuation planning. In the event of an emergency, be prepared with an evacuation plan. Create your plans with all members of your family or household. Keep in mind those with limited abilities, children, elderly, and pets. Identify possible exits and escape routes. Predetermine a safe meeting place. Always choose the escape route that is the safest. Think about various scenarios and strategize how to use them. Review and practice the plan often. Assemble an emergency supply kit. Remember to pack important documents, medicines, and necessary pet items. Remember to stay calm, stay informed, and stay alert. For more information, visit fire.honolulu.gov.
Thank you. For questions for our fire captain today. Are there any in the in the hall, Dylan?
No.
Okay, Miss Murchie, you're on mute.
Does your section, is that part of Kai'o'o Drive, the wooden structure that burnt down behind Discovery Bay?
That was a different watch, and our engine company did not respond to that.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Just checking.
And Captain, I just had a question. I know it's on everybody's minds, and I did ask the Managing Director Formby about, since it was in the paper, that the city is looking at a comprehensive, so fire risks across the island, given the tragedy in Maui. And I know that right here on Diamond Head, we're in, one of the highest risk areas. Do you, just for everybody listening, the managing director did get back and said that there was the Civil Beat article yesterday essentially mentioned what the city is doing. But do we have, in your memory, is there, a number of fires that have happened on Diamond Head over the last number of years? And what are the causes of those typically? Are they from down power lines or homeless cooking or, shards of glass heating up?
I have to go back and look into that, but I'm pretty sure I don't recall any down power lines or shards of glass.
Okay. Okay, I know it's a community concern because there are people that have open campsites with cooking on the mountain, and obviously it's a tinderbox. So I know you all are reasonably aware of that, but we appreciate your tips. We have a couple more questions here from Mr. Boydell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed on this month's Google Drive, 20-page PDF flyer titled Ready, Set, Go, Your Personal Wildland Fire Action Guide, developed by the Hawaii Wildfire Management Association. I wonder, is that from the fire department or some other organization?
I believe that's been distributed through our department, but it's a national kind of guideline that we've been adhering to.
Thank you.
Okay, and thanks for pointing that out, Mr. Boydell. For people that don't know, they can find that information on the top of our agenda with the Google Drive information of all the articles and topics or pieces of information submitted by officials. Noella, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Mr. Fireman. I've noticed of late, right there on the slope of Diamond Head, right across from Kapiolani Park by Diamond Head Theater, there are tents that are being set up right there. It's on a pavement asphalt, but once again, because we're in such a dry time, I would ask if you folks could please look into this and, um, you know, go see it for yourself. They have bright tents. There's about 3 or 4 of them. There was not yesterday, the day before. So that's something I just noticed. Thank you for your time.
Are there any other questions for Captain Kainoa? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for all the good work that you and your colleagues do in keeping us safe.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Honolulu Police Department, District 6, Waikiki Kapiolani Park, Diamond Head.
No representative in person, Chair.
Okay, perhaps they'll come later, so please let me know. We'll move on to District 7, Diamond Head, Kapahulu, St. Louis Heights, East Honolulu. And I think we have Mr.
Good evening.
Nishimura. Hi.
Good evening, Lieutenant Nishimura from HPD District 7. The following is the monthly statistics for August 2023. Motor vehicle theft, we had 7 instances of that. Burglary, 2. Theft, 18. UEMV or car break-ins were 5. Total calls for service was 6,627. And our safety tip of the month will be pedestrian safety. Briefly for drivers, you must yield to the pedestrians in the crosswalks. Please be aware of them, and as you're driving, to please look around and see if there's any pedestrians, especially again as you're approaching crosswalks or intersections. For pedestrians, please be visible. Please use crosswalks whenever available. That is the safest way to cross the street. And please abide and be aware of the different pedestrian control devices. So please obey them. That's for your safety as well. But that's a report for the month. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Murchie.
Hi, this morning when we were walking about 7:10, there were lots and lots and lots of blue lights on Kapahulu, right by the zoo parking. Do you have any idea what that was? I mean, there were lots of them.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know. But that also may have been in a different district. If it was near the zoo area, that would be Waikiki. But yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know what happened this morning.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they closed the street off. So it must have been something serious.
Yeah, may have been an accident or something like that.
Other questions for Lieutenant Nishimura?
We do have one in person. Yes, you can come up to the microphone.
Been here before. I thank you for listening to my concerns. My name is Catherine Conrad. I live at Makalei Place. And my concern is about the illegal parking at Makalei Beach Park and by the mopeds. It has really scaled up since fall school session has started. On Labor Day weekend, we had 23 mopeds parked in the park, and then on Labor Day, we had 22. That's just a point in time. And then we now have a temporary sign saying no parking by motor vehicles in the park. And it has helped, but now all the mopeds are parked on the sidewalk. Today, we had 16 parks of mopeds on the sidewalk, and the neighbor called 911. Police thankfully told the mopeds to leave. And I was at 2. I came home at 4, and there was almost that many left. And my question and concern is, why aren't these mopeds given citations because of the illegal activity, both parking in the park and parking on the sidewalk, the viewing area, motor vehicles on the grass? And it's really getting out of hand. Even tonight when I was leaving, there were many mopeds on the sidewalks. I didn't see in the park to actually have to be out on the sidewalks. That's my concern.
Thank you, Lieutenant Nishimura. Do you have any response?
Yeah, thank you for the concern. We appreciate that. And we're aware of the issue over at Makalei Beach Park, and we are addressing it. With regards to issuing citations, the officer will have discretion at that moment whether they want to issue a citation. I mean, if they can have the mopeds move, they may choose to do that. Again, at their discretion, so that's their option. But we are aware of it, and we are enforcing it, and we're taking measures to try and address that issue.
So I know you're addressing it, and thank you so much. It is helping, but it's constant. I mean, I have to call all the time, and I'm just thinking that citations might help. I know the officer can use discretion, but it's not. For the residents, it's not. So,
I'll pass on that information, and we'll continue to check in and enforce. Thank you.
thank
Any other questions for Officer Nishimura? We appreciate you coming, sir, and for all the good work you do in our community, keeping us safe. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. You too. Take care.
Next, we move on to board vacancies. We have 2 seats open in Subdistrict 3, and are there any folks who contacted you, Dylan, for that? Or that are wanting to offer themselves as board members now?
No one has reached out to me. Anyone in person interested in filling a Sub-District 3 board vacancy? If you're unclear of where you live, I can show you.
And anyone online interested in that? Okay, seeing none, just let your friends and neighbors know that we do have a couple of seats available. Next, we move on to officer elections for secretary. Do I have nominations for secretary at this time? Mr. Weitzel.
Hi, yes, I'd like to nominate Boydell for secretary.
Okay, David Boydell. Are there other nominations at this time? I did speak with Michelle Matson before. She had an emergency that she couldn't come tonight, but she said she would like to be considered as a candidate for secretary. So I will nominate Michelle Matson as well.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
there are no proxy votes allowed for the neighborhood boards.
So proxy votes, but can we nominate those who may not be here?
No.
No, you're either here or you're not.
Yeah, sorry. We've had that issue with the other boards too. You must be present to accept the nomination, and then you also must be present to cast your vote.
Okay, well, then that determines that. With that, do we need to call for the vote as a voice count?
Yes, I do have to go through a roll call vote. But is there any other nominations? Just want to give that one last.
Sure, thank you. Okay,
Yeah, hearing none. Chair, can I do the roll call?
please do.
All right. So the rules are normal with officer elections. Please state the name of the person you're voting for. The motion on the table is to nominate David Boydell to be secretary. So you can say Boydell or you can abstain. Allen,
Boydell.
Boydell,
Boydell.
Decker,
Boydell.
Messina,
Boydell.
Knight,
Boydell.
Matson, Murakawa,
Boydell.
Murchie,
Boydell.
Velasco,
Boydell.
Weitzel,
Boydell,
Bruce Wong,
Boydell.
Linda Wong, Welch.
I'm going to abstain, Chair. Sorry, Dylan.
All right, motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boydell, and congratulations on being secretary for the board again.
Thank you.
At this point, let's move on to the Board of Water Supply, Kapiolani Community College, and public events notices / announcements. We are having a presentation of Board of Water Supply later, so if you have some questions, it's going to be about the rate increase. You may want to hold it till then. But with that, I will invite, I think Kathleen is here. I-
Aloha, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, board members. Great to see everybody in person for a change. I'm happy to report no main breaks in your community this past month. And again, our general water announcement is it is Source Protection Week, so we just ask everybody to be conscious about protecting our water sources. Our water comes from groundwater resources and, just check for leaks on your property, use what you need, don't waste it. And when you're out hiking, please stay on the designated trails so you're not tramping seeds and invasive species into the watershed. And if you're interested, you can join a community watershed partnership group. There's one for Po'olauloa. And then with the closure of 3 water sources near Red Hill, we all need to be responsible stewards to ensure we'll have an adequate supply of safe drinking water today and for future generations. Thank you very much. I just wanted to give a quick update on the fencing. We have our application in with DLNR OCCL. It's under review. That is the Conservation District application. So we're just waiting on that before we can begin. And once we have that, we'll issue a notice to proceed. So I'll keep updating this board as we move forward. Any questions? Thank you.
Any questions for Kathleen? Ms. Murchie?
You said that there were no water main breaks, but I know the property that we were talking about on Makalei, with the mopeds all gathered there, they actually broke off a sprinkler head.
Yeah, that's on property though. That's
I
different.
think
We
it
don't-
was outside the fence, is what I understood, outside the wall. And, go ahead.
Yeah, if it's on their side of the meter, even though it could be on the outside of the wall, it could still be on their side of the meter. However, if you see
But it's
something
not
like
private
that,
property, it's a park.
okay, but still it's park would have to fix it. But anytime you see that, please contact us immediately and we will call up the parks guys. We have a direct line to DPR to call them and get those things fixed.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
And also too, I'm not sure that you're aware of this, but Jay Scheidler actually pays Ultimate Innovations Landscaping to take care of that park. And he should be like given a hero's, a medal for that because they've wrecked it and his people go back in and fix it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Dobbs?
Yes, thank you, Kathleen.
Yes,
I'd
hi,
like to-
Jody.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for your referral to the communication office. However, could you please update us on regarding the obsolete Florida water supply meter box that's adjacent to the retaining wall for Diamond Head Ali'i? And is there any way of moving things forward at it's sort of, we don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, our team is going to be cutting and capping off. I don't know that they'll necessarily remove the meter boxes, but they're not hooked up to anything or they're not active. So we will be closing and capping that off. I don't know when though.
Okay.
I
And
can try and find out for you though.
thank you. Can I ask one other question?
Absolutely.
This is with respect to, are there any plans to do desalination for Hawaii in order to increase our water?
Yes, actually, next week we're having our first meeting with potential customers out in Campbell. We actually have the project, we have the project people online, and we are moving forward with our first desal. It's going to be about 1.7 million gallons. We are working for Campbell. We want to get them off potable water because right now they use about 3 million gallons a day of potable water, but it can be scaled up to 5 million gallons a day. Desal has a number of challenges, so we want to go about it very carefully and very thoughtfully, and hopefully it will work.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
And Kathleen will be here a little bit later for a presentation on BWS plans. If you want to preview that, go to the Google Drive so you can ask more intelligent questions. Anyway,
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Next, we will have, hopefully, Dean Hoshiko is here from Kapiolani Community College.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Chair Wells, members of the board. If I may share my screen, I can show you just a few slides, the latest what's happening at the Culinary Institute.
Okay.
You see it yet?
Not yet.
Let's see here.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, now the problem is that I can't see it. Okay, well,
Maybe start share or something. It's white. We got a white screen.
okay. I don't know why it's not working. Well, I'm sorry.
Sure, Dylan here.
Sure.
Just wanted to note, Dean Hoshiko, if it doesn't work, if we can't get it to work, could you please send it to me and then we can have it in the Google Drive for the board and the public to see?
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Let me just say that the work at Diamond Head has been progressing. They're finishing the roof on the restaurant auditorium, and they also have a lot of the different terracing done. There's quite a bit of work done on the Innovation Center. If you have seen it, you can probably see it from the road. So all of the work there has progressed quite a bit. And the walkways. It's still on target to be complete by the end of this calendar year. But, you know, there's a lot of work, of course, that has to go on the inside and putting small wares and other items like that. I did want to share with you that the executive director for the Culinary Institute of the Pacific search actually has been in progress, as I've mentioned before. And on September the 27th, this month, there will be an open forum on our campus in the morning. And I believe that will most likely occur in the auditorium in the OHIA building on campus in the morning between the hours of 9 and 2:30. The candidates will appear in person. I don't know who they are because I was not on that search committee. So people will be able to see the different candidates who are being considered for that very important Culinary Institute of the Pacific director. They're the ones who were put forward by the committee, but they want the campus to give feedback and community, and then, you know, there would be further input collected before anybody is selected. I also want to let you know that the next CIP virtual town hall meeting, quarterly town hall meeting, will be held on October the 5th, Thursday at 5 o'clock. And that is a virtual town hall meeting. That is the last virtual town hall meeting that I published on the calendar that I put out. And given the fact that there will be a new CIP director, we don't know what those preferences and directions are going to be from that CIP director. So at this point, I don't have a date, or I don't know if that person, she will want to continue, you know, such presentations in the future. But of course, a lot of that was to feature, you know, what was happening with the construction. Then, of course, by 2024, the construction will be completed. So the tenor of any kind of a public presentation will probably change. So that's my update for right now. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to show the slides, but I will send them to Whitesell so those can be put up on the site. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, Winston.
Thank you. Questions for Dean Hushko?
Chair, we do have a question from member Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the updates. I
Yes.
do have one question. You said that the open forum is on September 27th, and then the next
Yes.
virtual town hall is the 5th. How soon after the forum are you looking to hire the new director?
You know, well, you know, things don't move real quickly in the system sometimes, but, you know, I'm thinking that after the forums, you know, there'll have to be further consideration as they take feedback from the community and the community on campus. The candidates will have to go before the executive team and the chancellor, and then you know, further consideration given then, and then go through the hiring process. I don't know when the person, if they're out of state, you know, would take time to move and everything, and so on and so forth. But I'm thinking maybe we'll know by sometime in mid-October or November. But I'm not sure, you know, when somebody would be able to actually be here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I have another question, which I know you've answered many a times before at past meetings. But if construction's completed by end of the calendar year, the institute's not opening till next fall, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. You know, it's going to take time to finish things, putting in equipment and getting people trained and so forth. So it would probably be the fall. I wish it was sooner.
Well, and Dean Hushko, I had a couple quick questions for you. One was I was driving by the campus, and before we could park on it, there was no restrictions. But I noticed that it said if you park there, you'll be towed away unless you have some new ID. And perhaps it was only on. I just turned in the side by the you know, closest to the entrance of well, across from the theater, or by the old church that was on the campus. That's one question I have is can we park on the campus without fear of being towed, whether it's for a community event, or how does that work if we park there for the theater, for example, or just to park and walk around the campus?
Oh, okay. I know that you know, prior to the new acting Vice Chancellor of Administrative Services, particularly during COVID, you know, the rules for being able to park on campus really closed down, and it really hasn't opened up that much yet. But, you know, if you're going to a performance at the theater or something like that, no, your car is not going to be towed. You know, there's some kind of an arrangement where people can park there going to the theater performances. One of the things that they are trying to keep from happening is all of the cars parking there, people who are climbing up Diamond Head, because we get an awful lot of that. But you know, the only towing that I've seen is if people are parking in handicap stalls or staff parking. But the parking has not opened up fully yet. They haven't lifted the entire restriction on parking, Winston.
Okay, thank you. It just was, I wanted to park there for something to run into the campus, and I thought, when did this change? The other thing is, please do thank the construction company for the coloring of the wall that was such an obvious gash in the mountain. I noticed they left the top foot. I don't know if they're gonna finish that or not, but if they can, whether before they plant their plants or whatnot, it might even help further. But and if they feel like being a more community do-gooder, perhaps they could remove that tree that's dead in front of the entire campus if they have extra space and inside of one of the, you know, rubbish bins that they might be taking to the landfill.
Oh, okay, I'll bring that up to them. I'm sure they're gonna do something else, finishing that wall and, I don't know why I'm thinking they were talking about putting some kind of greenery on that wall too, but I could be wrong.
Yep. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
you're quite welcome. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Are there any public events announcements? So Noella?
Yeah, hi, Carol. Regarding the parking, I got one. You know where the food truck is down at the bottom? The food truck?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
and then
$5
there's
food.
but there's the bathhouse there, the bathroom, and then there's the fitness area there. We can
Yes.
still go over there and park, right? To use those facilities, you know, there's just, yeah,
Yes, uh-huh. Mhm.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we
you're
all
talking
want to be
about
clear
the
about the
fitness
parking.
area and using the public restrooms?
Right, and then there's the fitness there, so that requires time. You
Yes.
know, so there's not really strict rules there, but like Winston is doing, we're just trying to do our diligence to make sure we work within everything, right? Yeah. And then
Yeah, right.
lastly, I mentioned earlier to the fire guy earlier, I don't know if this is your area, but there's some campers parked right across at where the theater is at that intersection of Montserrat or Diamond Head Road. There's a few campers on that asphalt top where the old classroom used to be. And once again, I don't know if that's you guys, but I'm just gonna, you know, put that little thing in your ear, and I appreciate your time. Thank you,
Yeah.
Carol.
Oh, thanks, Noella. Yes, we do try, we do have to chase homeless people off the campus and keep our students safe.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but this one is across the street.
Oh, no, that isn't, we patrol the CIP in the Culinary Institute area.
Yeah, but where does that start and end? I mean, you do have your roadways up in there. This is a little further up by the intersection. And it's a concern because we're in fire season. I didn't think it belonged to you guys, but if anything, I want to just make you aware of it. When you're there,
Okay.
you'll probably see the same thing I saw just 2 days ago.
Oh, okay, I'll take a look at it when I go to work tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks. And thank you, Dean. And Noella, I think the governor's rep, that's something for them. I think it's a DLNR issue, most likely if it's on the state property. So that's something we should forward to them. Finally, are there any, are there any announcements for any parades or runs or anything like that that we didn't get or that we did get? Dylan, do you remember of any that we got?
I do have, I can bring this up later.
Okay.
No one in person has anything at this moment.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to community concerns and public testimony. There's a limit of 2 minutes per person. I will ask that you monitor yourself as best as you can and just be aware of that other folks are here. If you have direct concerns that maybe involve one of our legislators or city councilors, please email them directly or chat with them directly here if you can and save everyone some time. In person, let's start there. Who do we have there first?
Yes, we do have a gentleman. Oh,
Okay.
sir,
please.
did you want to? Thank you.
I
We have
did-
two in person.
Okay, and if you're able to sort of keep time of 2 minutes, that would be most useful.
Okay.
Good evening. Mahalo to the board for letting me address you folks. My name is Edward Kuba, and I was born in Kapahulu almost 80 years ago. I'm a proud graduate of Waikiki School, Kamiki Intermediate, and Kamiki High School. I moved back to Kapahulu about 6 years ago. During my daily walks for exercise, I multitask. I pick up trash along the way and dispose of them in the proper trash receptacles. And one of my routes is along Kapahulu Avenue, adjacent to the Awalai Golf Course. I've noticed a couple of concerns at the Rainbow Drive-In location. Drivers on Kapolulu Avenue speed, we all know that. The streets at that location, Castle Street as well as Kanaina Street, drivers at that location have to contend with speeding drivers on Kapolulu Avenue. But what makes it worse is the overgrown hedges at that location. Trimming by the city can alleviate that concern, but trimming needs to be done more often. And even with proper trimming, it leads to my second concern. The hedges create a nice haven for the houseless people there. That's one thing for them to exist there. It's another thing for them to steal things from Rainbow Drive-In, break things at the drive-in. According to Chris Iwamura, who manages the facility, he has confronted those houseless people, and his life has been threatened. They threatened to kill him by 2 people. I invited Chris to join me this evening, but last minute inquiry, he sent me an email last night, and if I can read it into the record, very short. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend tomorrow. I do support the removal of the hedges, and they are really tall right now and just are a safety hazard. The homeless are getting more violent. Yesterday, I was threatened, quote, to be killed, close quote, by 2 individuals. We've had many things stolen and broken. As security is extremely expensive, it is on me to confront those individuals. So it's a really serious matter, and we could diffuse it, and I respectfully propose that those hedges be removed in their entirety, and hopefully urge the houseless people there to move on and diffuse that dangerous situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming tonight. I think that's our representatives from the city are on. The mayor's office especially should deal with that. And of course, any threats like that should be, I think, reported to the police immediately. That is a dangerous intersection. I noticed the phone was completely ripped out, and the Rainbow Drive-In could also help by screening in its trash bins, which is actually a requirement of the law. So they may want to consider moving those to another part of their lot and opening that up further to be more visibly accessible. So let's ask the city to follow up on that.
Yeah, I just add one comment. I am aware, I was aware of that decrepit telephone, and I requested Council Member Say's office to help me remove that phone. And Melvia Awashima was very helpful in getting that phone removed. It was an attractive nuisance.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't think there's any phones in our district that actually work. Not to say that they shouldn't, but yeah, I noticed it was gone today too. Thank you for coming, sir. Anyone else in person? I see someone approaching the mic.
We do have Councilmember Waters, I think, wants to respond to this.
Aloha, board members, and thank you, Mr. Kuba. I believe you contacted my office as well, and I had actually asked him to come to the board to ask you folks whether or not you want the city to remove the hedges. It's Naupaka. I just drove by there on my way here today, and it's about 5 feet tall, and it's pretty thick. But I know this board is very environmentally conscious and likes trees. So that's why I asked him to come here. So thank you for coming. And whatever the board decides, I'll follow through with the Department of Facility Maintenance. But I'd love to hear if the board has an opinion on whether or not we should remove the hedges or simply trim them down to be lower. But it is thick, and I can see how people can live inside of that one area. But yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Tommy. I would suggest that we put this to the Parks, Recreation, Environment Committee or the Public Safety Committee or both, along with other issues that we have here. Again, if I might say, it seems like this is something where we've had before cut down the trees, cut down the plants because we won't enforce laws against people camping in places. And this seems to me the kind of wrong approach, but I understand that the end result is that people are living there, but perhaps they can be trimmed down in such a method that keeps them and improves public safety. But I mean, this ongoing discussion. There's someone else in person there, Dylan, who wanted to speak?
Yes, we do. And I did also want to note, instead of maybe pushing it to the Parks Committee, which is totally fine, you could put this on the next agenda for a board motion. We can't vote on it tonight because it's not properly noticed.
That's
just-
fine.
Yeah, it's one easier step.
Okay, that's fine. Why don't we plan on doing that? And in case one of those committees wants to take it up in the meantime, they could do so as well. Okay. Thank you, Dylan. And someone else in person, there you go.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair and members of the board, Councilman Waters and all the residents here. My name is Patty. I'm just here to bring an attention to you a high-rise development at 2779 Twilight Avenue called Pahor Ridge. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about it. This is technically in the Mo'iliili-Makali neighborhood area, but it also border Lower Manoa and St. Louis, Kapahulu, because the area that they're trying to build on is directly across the H1 westbound on-ramp on Old Riley Road in a small part of land that is about 20,000 square feet. They're trying to propose through the HHFDC 201H program to build a 28-story high, 211 units that they're trying to do affordable housing. We did have a couple of town hall meetings, but we feel that they're not being very straightforward with their answers. And when we looked at the amount of rent they're charging, it's not quite affordable. They're showing a studio, which is 350 square feet for rent from $683 to $1,300 for a very tiny place. Also, they're putting a lot of amenities in the unit, swimming pool, a lot of parking and a gym, recreational deck that to me is not really necessary for workforce housing, because if you're building a truly workforce housing, you really don't want to increase the cost of the building and the maintenance fees. And the other thing they're asking for is, and this is an old document that I searched, it might not be valid anymore. They submitted a proposal to HHFDC for $55 million of tax money. And they also asking for a height variance of, currently that location is zoned for 150 feet apartment complex, but they're trying to ask for 250 feet variance so that it can build as tall as they can. The main concern that we have is where the traffic is really horrible there. A lot of you folks are from Lower Kapahulu and St. Louis Drive, probably come down the road and use the on-ramp there. And you know, University of Hawaii is right there. We have all the high school that people drop off their children, Maryknoll, St. Louis. Is really, really bad there if you drive there all the time. So having this high rise that will definitely increase the traffic. And when they were questioned, they really don't have an answer. They did a traffic study that's required, but they did it 2 years ago, which is during COVID, right? 2021. And their answer was, there's no major impact. Well, of course, nobody's working, nobody's in school. So to me, there's a flaw in their way. And they're trying to really push this through 201H. So that they can be built it and, you know, make a lot of money. I applaud anybody who try to build affordable housing. What I'm asking is, you folks should be involved because it impacts all of you St. Louis Heights area. And we have asked them to come to your board, but I'm not sure if they did or not. So I encourage all of you to reach out to them and to learn more about it and how it affects you and maybe demand some answers. Unfortunately, Monday night, there was an accident involving an 80-year-old pedestrian right by that strip, and the gentleman was taken to the hospital in serious condition. So really wanted to ask all of you to help and just to ask questions and learn more about it and protect your neighborhood. I have a little bit of information that was prepared for the town hall meeting they had in August. So some of the info is outdated, but if you want to reach out to your city council, which is Mr. Waters here, and we're also working with our area, which is Mr. Calvin said he's been very, very helpful with us, and Representative Andrew Garrett's always been on board. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer because I actually had a meeting with the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stanton Ching. I live in St. Louis Heights. I frequent this particular intersection
that Nancy was describing. Picture the Hawaii storage facility on Wailea Avenue, heading towards H1 on-ramp. To the left, on the left side of lane 1, would be the street that would continue on Wailea Avenue towards King Street. Lane 2 and 3 would proceed to H1 on-ramp, going to the west. With the additional occupancy of that particular property of approximately 211 parking spots, which obviously translates to cars or other vehicles, there is a danger for that particular on-ramp to be backed up because of the traffic on H1. And people would start to cheat to go towards King Street to use that particular lane, which would be the on-ramp for the one-way street for this Pahoa Ridge apartment building to feed. Considering, I did spend about an hour there on a Saturday watching the traffic pattern. There was the start of a football game at Chung Stadium. I picture the number of people that go to the Sheriff Center or at the Murakami Stadium on top of any of the go-to-work people towards H1. I see that it's a very dangerous intersection. I think the addition of 200 plus vehicles into the area presents a danger to all those people who pass by, including the residents that would live there. My request is that this particular development be rejected, even though we desperately need 200 apartment buildings, places to live. The dangers to the users and to the people who pass by driving, it is not worth it. Thank you.
Are there any other testifiers in person?
Yes. You can come up to the mic.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. I'm Lydia Nakata. I live right where this apartment high-rise is going to be built, and we were not notified when we were going to be impacted the most. Now, this Owailai Road used to be safe, but in 1972, my son was attending Kuhio Elementary School. All the people who lived in Mauka, Owailai Road were given district exception because it was too dangerous for not only the children to cross, but also the JPOs to man. So everybody Mauka of Wailai got district exception. So you can see that it was already a dangerous road. Since then, they have built the Stan Sheriff Center, the Les Murakami Stadium. They built all the dormitories at the end of Kalele Road. And it's become exponentially hazardous traffic already without this high-rise being built. Now, my concern is that none of the neighboring boards were notified. I mean, we who live there weren't notified. And we're actually in Manoa now, our neighborhood board, but we were Moilini Makali. And St. Louis, Diamond Head, Kapapulu, none of you folks know and are going to be impacted by all this traffic and bottleneck. Owailai has a dangerous curve. It's one way, and it goes 2 lanes to the freeway that comes to one. It goes 2 lanes, 1 lane to King Street, and it has the on-ramp coming the other way. I think you folks all need to look at this and take and participate and voice your opinion, because your lives will never be the same if this high-rise is built to the maximum that they want, with almost 300 cars additional on a blind curve. So please look up Pahoa Ridge. Tell your congressman, tell everybody, your city councilman, everybody, representative, to look at this. This is going to impact so many lives. As much as I'm for affordable housing, I don't think our safety has to be sacrificed. A couple thousand people for a couple hundred. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others in
You
person?
have a second time speaker.
Okay.
Although I was going to talk about this when it was my turn on the agenda, but I wanted to make sure I was able to address it just in case you folks have to leave early. But what we all need to be aware of is there's a state law, chapter 201, subsection H, called 201H project, that allows the developer increased height density. In fact, Section 201H goes as far as to say that they can set aside all county requirements. And in fact, the county also under 201H has to subsidize the building by not charging these building permit fees, sewer hookup fees. We can't waive water, but basically all these development fees are automatically waived under this law. And again, it's state law, right? That we're required to follow. The other thing that I wanted to point out about 201H projects are that the state defines what affordable means. And it's defined under state law as being 140% of the area median income. The city defines affordable as 120% of the area median income. And I've been looking at this because really, if you're talking about affordability, we're talking about what local people, workers can afford. And it's neither 140 or 120. That's pretty much professionals making over $100,000 a year can afford that 140. To me, that's market rate housing, although it's defined as affordable. So one of the things that I don't see any of our state lawmakers here, they may be on Zoom, but we really should look at that and perhaps change the definition. Because when it comes to us, basically, when I say us, the city council, we can ask the developer to change certain things, right? And maybe increase the affordability or look at the parking situation. But when I first heard about this, and by the way, it hasn't come to the city council yet. So it hasn't reached my desk. But one of the things that we should talk about a little bit more is, I went to the football game against Albany, UH versus Albany, and we went through that bottom gate. Now that the UH plays all their home games there, and the prospect of building a $400 million stadium in Halava is still up in the air, and we're making UH more permanent, we really should look at whether or not we want that development there, because that's all those more cars. And then the other thing is, of course, I grew up in the area, so I know you're trying to get onto the freeway and you live there, you're going to have to cross traffic. And anybody who's gone on that road in rush hour knows, if you're not in that right lane and everybody's going, it's almost impossible to get from the left lane to the right lane. You got to be real nice and wave your hands, right, to get over. And most people are nice, but still, can you imagine coming out of that building trying to get over to get onto the freeway? Next to impossible, and it's going to cause wreak havoc, I think. But thank you, Patty, and thank you, sir, for coming out and talking about this. And Winston, has the developer reached out to you to come here to give you all a presentation?
They did not. They came last month and notified us that there was going to be a presentation on August 30th. So I hope they have another community engagement. As you've stated, the 201H process is very fast tracked. It doesn't give a lot of leeway for anything, as opposed to, the Kuala Place, which caused so much consternation of 1,000 units, which, did not have it's this one. I seem to remember that it was more targeted towards the 30 to 60% AMI, if I'm remembering correctly, but I was not at the meeting, and they should come to every neighborhood board so that they do have better community and buy-in if in fact this is going to happen. And as you mentioned, this could happen everywhere across the city, and I think that we could see a lot of this everywhere, especially with the governor's proclamation, but we don't know where that's going to go at this time.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is the 201H requires the city to act within 45 days. Once
Right.
it hits my desk, we got 45 days. If we don't do anything, it's automatically approved. That's what the state law says. So just keep that in mind. But thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. And there's someone else in person who'd like to speak?
100%. Thank you for your insight on the 201H. So I just wanted to let Chief folks know that because I attended the Office 30th meeting. If they do come to you, they're going to be very brief and they're going to spend most of the meeting talking how great they are. So maybe, demand them to just skip all of those fancy things about what wonderful company human being they are and just go to the project because you really want to hear more about the project itself rather than what they are. And I wanted to ask Councilman Waters if there's anything you could do as a community for that. It sounds like it's a fast track state program. Is there anything we can count on our city official to at least make sure the traffic solution is presented and that maybe they can just build to the height limit and not build like a giant building for double. Thank you.
Once that project is presented, it goes to the Department of Planning and Permitting. They write a recommendation to the council along with their bill authorizing this. Once I get that, I'll notify you, Chair Welch and the board. And if you wanted to email my office asking for that information, as soon as we get it, we can email you and you can get that information out to the community and then obviously come and testify before the council. Yeah, but I'll get that information to you all once I receive it, once they actually apply for it. And then if there is any mitigation that they could do to satisfy the community, I certainly like to hear that. But I
Chair-
do also want to point out that Department of Business and Economic Development did do a study that we're about 25,000 units behind in affordable housing. And I've said this before, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to this project, but I'm the fifth out of 6 kids, born and raised here, and none of my siblings live here. My parents moved to the mainland. My dad went to St. Louis High School, and he died on the mainland. And my daughter just went away to college, and I'm worried that she's not going to be able to come back. We'll get a good job, make some decent money, and won't be able to still afford to come back to Hawaii. So we do have to build more affordable units. The real question is, where are we going to build these, you guys? This area is actually in the urban core, and there is a urban core development plan that's currently going through DPP, and really that's where you guys got to comment, right? The public needs to be heard on what should be built in the urban core, and the urban core includes Kapahulu, St. Louis Heights, this area, right? So it's coming. But I was going to say this, by the way, during my presentation, but now is just as good a time. I'm sorry, Chair Welch, but that's going before the Planning Commission on November 4th, I believe. I'll get back to you on the date of this year. So if you don't want this area to be included in the urban core, which is slated for future development, right? That's where they want to build, in the urban core, right? You guys heard of the country? Well, the opposite is build in the urban core. So we got to be very, very aware, careful, and then testify. And I'll give you folks more information on when it gets to the Planning Commission, because your testimony before the Planning Commission is very important.
Chair Welch, Dylan here.
Yes, sir.
We did have a quick question from a board member, Angie Knight, but I did want to note that we are 1 hour now into the meeting. We're running pretty quickly. But this is an item that's not properly listed on the agenda for everyone else in the public to understand. So I would really recommend that this be postponed and we put it on the next agenda for everyone, especially the board, to follow up, do some research, and come back with a good discussion and debate to have.
Thank you, Dylan. I think that's an excellent point.
Angie, you want to?
2 quick things. I was gonna say if we wanted to do a resolution at the board, we should probably do it in our committee. And I think there's enough interest if we also want to appeal the traffic study. Because I know Manoa's board was very concerned about that as well. That would get attention. And then I also just wanted to clarify something that Chair Waters mentioned about affordable housing. How the state has it at 140% and then the county the county has it at 120%. The actual rent rates are very much decided, the affordable rent rates are very much decided by who is providing the funding. If they're using LIHTC, which is low income housing tax credits, that is actually federal. That is by the Housing and Urban Development. And so it's come up again and again about how that's not reflective of the community. And also, if they do it by state, right, you have Big Island being compared to Maui, which is being compared to Oahu. So just when we talk about affordability, it's really important to kind of, we all know you have to look at where the funding is coming, but that is where the definition of affordable is coming. And with that, also, a way that we can make these rentals and developments more affordable is mandating that they accept vouchers, mandating that they accept subsidies. And that's also something that we can campaign for.
Thank you. I would also, yeah, I agree, Dylan, that this is a topic that needs to be on the agenda. I will ask Michelle Matson, who chairs the Zoning and Planning Committee, to set a special meeting. For those that are interested in this topic, this board has addressed this many times, from Kuilei Place that went up recently to the primary urban core, and we've asked that we be taken out of that for this neighborhood because as it stands right now, we had one week presentation by the Department of Planning and Permitting, which is entirely separate, but this one would be allowing mass change and development in our neighborhood as it stands. So thank you, Chair Waters, for letting us know about the November 4th Planning Commission, because it is important, and I'm glad to see people out here for this. And of course, this does not address the governor's emergency proclamation, which adds another layer of complexity onto all of this. You really have to follow this very closely, even as the chair of the city council. I'm sure that your brain is sometimes spaghetti, but we did have a presentation from the Sierra Club on this last month about the governor's proclamation. So I encourage people to follow this carefully. Let's put this as an agenda item next month for those of you who want to talk about this more. Other than that, are there any other folks in person there, Dylan?
Anyone else that wants to speak not on Pahoa Ridge? Nobody in person.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to switch then to Daisy Murai, who's been waiting patiently.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, everybody. I just want to say, don't forget, there's also traffic coming from Kuilei Place, which the council fast-tracked to have the 1,000 units plus. Don't forget, traffic coming off Kapilani, going into Waialae Avenue, trying to get off the same area. And infrastructure were never discussed by any of the developers. So these are concerns for everybody. My question actually is for the chair. Are you going to get a person to represent the board on the OMPO CAC committee? Because you're going to lose your standing if you don't assign someone, because Bert has been doing it for years, but we need to have someone else assigned. Or the OMPO right now, the CAC bylaws are saying that it's possible that people that don't show up will be removed from the committee, and then you would have to restart all over by going to 4 meetings, etc., etc. So please get into contact with OMPO. I'm sorry. Just get a hold of OMPO, and then they'll be able to help redirect you, because you need to have a voice. Because how are you going to know about city, state, federal part projects? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that reminder, Daisy. I know since we lost Bert on this board from being here, that he was a great representative for us. And I see Chair Waters is back. Are you gonna take off, or you're just waving?
No, I take to heart what you're saying, and Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who is the chair of the transportation committee, is assigned to OMPO. And you let me know if he's not showing up, then I'll crack the whip on him.
Okay. And we look forward to your report in a couple minutes here. I'm going to move on to Arlene Velasco.
Yes, I just wanted to recommend that, that we assign this to one of our subcommittees so that there's a lot of interest in this and that it would be useful to have a really in-depth meeting about the whole development issue. We are facing many developments in the area that affect all our communities with traffic and sewage and water usage. It's all very connected, and sustainability, seawater level rising, all those communities are impacted. So I would recommend we do move this to a meeting and we get one of the subcommittees to take charge of this.
Okay, thanks, Arlene. And I will ask Michelle Matson of Zoning and Planning to hold a meeting for the public. And I see Laura Ruby.
Yes. Hi, good evening, Chair, and I hope you're recovering adequately from your COVID exposure. I'm going to share the screen. I'd like to say that okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. On last Saturday, we had a very big community empowerment meeting at Alloway School, probably 150 people, and we were more or less featuring the idea that either no bridge or a modest bridge be put in place. And this is as you people on your board and also the Mo'ili board also both opposed the design of the rather monstrous building. And what I'd like to say is on the 19th at Washington Middle School at 5:30 in the afternoon, there's going to be another meeting which will expand to the whole of the Waikiki, it's Alawai watershed area. So that would include everything from monster houses and buildings and traffics and you name it besides the bridge. So I encourage everybody to come out and find your voices, because this was really successful on Saturday, and I hope that everything will be more successful. Now, one of the things that I brought up is that there are modest bridges all around that don't take very much money, much less money than the very extravagant one that was supposedly proposed. And the thing is, these plans are available in their government offices and can easily be just lifted over to Hawaii and modified slightly. So this is the one in Canada, the Banff Bridge, particularly nice. Look at how nicely it graces over the water body, and it's actually 265 feet, and our Alawai Canal is only 250 feet. So you can see what a nice bridge would look like. And then the other one, Iowa City, and then, whoops, come on. I'm trying to get to the next page. Oops. Okay, then here's another one, Dublin. You can see the bridge. There's some detailing there, and you think about the very nice, some kind of a Hawaiian detailing, modest, whatever. And the bottom is our own small pedestrian bike bridge over the Alanaio. That's the name of the stream that I got renamed from Houston Ditch, going back to the original Hawaiian name. And it's in our Alawai Park. It's 80 feet across. It's a very easy stretch just to make something like that, 250 feet. And so I wanted to invite all of you to envision what it would be like if it was a modest bridge. Originally, I was against any bridge over the canal, but I've come halfway, and a modest bridge would be okay. Our bike paths are only 10 feet wide across the city and county. And this would only be a bridge that's 10 feet wide and would convey the same bicyclists and pedestrians and wheelchairs. And it would not have huge off ramps as the previously proposed large tower and stay cables, but big, huge concrete at either side of the canal. The one being on Alawai Boulevard would be about the length of 3 long hook and ladder trucks, if you can imagine that, and going up to 12 feet. So I would like any questions you might have, I'll be glad to answer, but I'll put in the chat. Please come to our meeting on it's a community empowerment meeting, and I think you'll find it very informative, but also very encouraging that there's other people out there that want to work on the same things with you. We're community and we will have power. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura. And if you could put that information about the next meeting on the 19th in the chat at Washington Middle School. This was an initiative sponsored by Senator Leslie Hara, who may speak about it later, and Carol Fukunaga. It's not to press any specific viewpoints. It's just to gather the community together to hear concerns and it may be the bridge, it could be the Alawai projects, it could be monster houses, like you say, or developments or whatever it is. So I encourage people to come out to that so that their voices can be heard and they can connect with other people outside of this forum. Yes, and we have Mr. Whitesell.
Yes, Chair, thank you. If I could just ask Ms. Ruby for clarification as to, unless I missed something, why there wasn't any sort of formal extension for example, this board or the Waikiki Neighborhood Board, at the very least, the members, as to the last meeting that you just held.
Well, it did go out pretty far. They worked very fast to get as many condominiums and many people involved. Winston would have been there. Michelle Matson was there. Let's see, there were other people that are on your board or in your neighborhood that were there. So it wasn't that it was keeping people out. It's a question of how many people can be connected to come to that particular meeting. And we worked really hard to try to get as many condominiums on both sides of the canal and elsewhere also. So it's not that we didn't want you there. We just didn't have the time to get to every single place that could have them. So now I'm announcing the new one, which is, we really hope that you will come. So it will be a big coming together of the community. And I think that's what's important.
Well, I appreciate you extending this new meeting. I hope you understand, though, that it is a bit, if people have some skepticism over how the last meeting was handled, especially since most of us have our emails publicly available and whatnot. And I know that it was called a Macaulay meeting, but there were plenty of people, including at least one board member from our board, that was invited and participated, as well as names that I recognize from Manoa and other places.
And people from Waikiki.
So the fact that, considering how much time and coming up, but how much time you spent on our board presentations over months and years, as well as Waikiki and other areas, that at the very least you would contact the board members of all boards affected.
Well, I think that my original resolution that went to the Mo'ili'ili board then came to your board, and your board may have tweaked it somewhat little differently, and that passed also. Now we know that the Waikiki board was the opposite. They somehow wanted that tower, but we are two boards that were very much in agreement. And so that was the first sign you might have had of people really rallying together in a community effort.
Yes, but not all board members. And
no, the first meeting when you got the resolution and you let's say tweaked it to make it.
I didn't support that resolution, but I wasn't invited.
Well,
I didn't support that.
That was Winston. Maybe you can say that was a year ago or something.
Long time ago, maybe before your time on the board. But essentially, your point's well taken. Is that this last meeting came together very quickly, and I think now we have a chance to understand that there's going to be another meeting. This isn't going to be the end of them. This is just the start of them, and this one was particularly around the folks that were going to be impacted by this proposed bridge, who hadn't had their voices heard right in that area of the landing. That was my understanding. That was where most of them were there, but it certainly wasn't a closed meeting. It was put out.
So Michelle and people from Manoa and stuff too, that also attended.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we haven't gotten the whole list of people yet, but they all, 150 about that came. There were certainly, I know Waikiki, I think Makiki, Mo'ili'ili, and over in the Diamond Head, Kapahulu area, so many people came from different places. So we don't have the statistics, if you want to call it that, yet.
And well, I would suggest though, it's a good point, Dylan, is that people show up to the next meeting and
That's right.
we could talk about the very same topic. It's not going to go away.
Mhm.
DTS needs to look at this and understand that there's very serious community concerns and reservations. And I think this was just
Yes.
part one, and it
Mhm.
probably could have been publicized better, but it's a start. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And Margaret.
Oh, sorry, Margaret, you go first.
I just think that it would help if you guys would put a picture of the proposed bridge everywhere, because people have never not seen it. They don't know what you're talking about. And I don't think the paper published a photo of it. When you see the photo, then you get it. It's 18 stories high. with
That's right.
lights on.
There were pictures all around the room when we had the meeting, but
No, I'm
also,
talking about in the press, the media.
yes,
They,
I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah.
So come to the meeting on the 19th and you'll probably have a chance for more. Noella, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. Miss Laura, thank you so much. I love your presentations. I'm very involved with this too. When I was little, I used to swim in that thing before it got really dirty. Anyway, I found out about it through a family member who was in Boston at the time, who got a newsletter from some historic society. I'm trying to find it right now in my emails, and I will get that to you later. But I found out on September 9th about it, and I had to work that day, even though it was up the street from my place of employment. So I agree with what Mr. Welch says, that I mean, you can even go so far as slapping things on telephone poles within the law, so that the people of the community, and I really believe this is not only, our area here in East Honolulu, this involves the entire island of Oahu, because everyone loves the Alawai. And so with that said, and Margaret also mentioned that there should be better advertisement, more noise about it. On Wednesday mornings on KHVH, Rick Hamada, public service announcements, things so that the community, all of us, because we're all here tonight, but there's a lot of people I told about this and none of them knew about this. And the bridge that I like the best, just in closing, is the Banff Bridge, because you did say the footage of our Alawai Canal, and you said the way that that one is. And, they want to do it. It would be nice, let's be honest. They do have the Genki project going on, which is wonderful. We're going to get that Alawai cleaned up. But I believe that better advertisement for everyone, flyers, I don't care. We've done it in the past, and I think that that's super important. But thank you so much, Laura and Chairman Welch.
Thank you, Noella. And for those that would like to see the resolution that this board passed on this, almost unanimously, or maybe with one abstention, you can look at the neighborhood board 5 resolutions on the website. And I believe that there were probably 3 resolutions passed on this, but please view that yourself so you can catch up on some history here. With that, yes, looks like someone in person. Yep.
Hi, thank you so much, Laura, for attending. I was wondering if you could announce both the day and time and location for those in attendance in person, because they cannot see the chat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, it's at Washington Middle School on Tuesday, September 19th at 5:30 in the afternoon. There's loads of parking there, and just come, and it's a community empowerment meeting, and we're just hoping for every possible person to come here. We have really, I agree with all of you about getting out more of the publicity. We really did try as much as we could to try to get connections, and so we are still trying to get other additional coverage in the newspapers and Civil Beat and anything on TV or radio too. So we're trying to get it even larger group of people. So did you get that? Okay. September 19th, 5:30 Washington Middle School.
Thank you, Laura.
Mhm.
And with that, I think we can move on then to, and thank you for all for coming out with the community concerns. We have a lot of good issues that we need follow-up on. So thank you for being involved. We'll move on next to federal, state, city government administration reports. We have put back on our congressmen, and senators. I don't know why they were when they disappeared, but we're having a placeholder here for them. We may not have any reports tonight, but we hope to get those in the future. We'll start with Representative Case's representative, if he or she is here. Seeing not, Mazie Hirono. So we have a representative tonight, or Brian Schatz. In all fairness, they were contacted late, but we hope to see from them in the future. I did get a message from the governor's representative that they would not be able to come tonight. So if you have concerns for the governor's representative and you wanted to speak them now, I think they could be entered into the record. Otherwise, if you feel more comfortable emailing me or perhaps Dylan to pass those along. Laura?
Yes, I've been trying. I am afraid the governor's representatives have not been around at many of the board meetings recently. What I'd like to encourage the governor to do, because of his initiative, is to identify the 1/4 of our land of Hawaii that is federal and largely military land, and to have them pare back that land so that truly affordable housing rentals, largely for workforce rentals, can be put in place. The other thing is that I would like the governor to identify all the what are called remnant parcels. That's for the state and for the city and county. There's lots of them under freeways and everywhere else you look. There's lots of remnant parcels, and put in kauhalis. And those kauhalis, they're to be more correct with the definition of the word, was an extended family basically originally, or from many different people closely related. And those were little houses. What they have at the Board of Health is tiny homes, which are great. You just have a person and a shopping cart and you move right in. They're very tiny. And I commend, them for setting that set up, but they just have to be everywhere, all the remnant parcels. And then the kauhalis can be built on, or even modest apartments can be built on that recovered federal land. Remember, we ceded an awful lot of land to the federal government a long time ago, and it should be that considerations to bring it back home, so to speak. Thank you.
I did have a comment as well that I would like to see the governor ask the director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources to reestablish the Citizens Advisory Committee for Diamond Head State Monument. It's been it lapsed for a number of years under the current director of DLNR, and that's something that we really need to have. It's mandated in the statutes, and we need to reconvene that just for a little bit more oversight, input, and everything that was designed for. If that could be in the minutes. Are there any other questions, comments? If none, then we have a placeholder for the State Department of Transportation, because we do have issues that we'd like to have coming up, especially about the bridge. So perhaps that's something where after the zoning and planning meeting, where we address these issues, where we hear community concerns on the 19th, that we could have DTS and come and talk about any number of issues, whether it's complete streets or the bridge or other issues affecting our neighborhood and nearby. And Noella?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Welch. You mentioned earlier when I brought up a concern when the governor's, time, which is now, and then you mentioned the situation I was referring to. It's a DLNR issue. So I would ask the board, our neighborhood board, and the commission, if we could include in our neighborhood board meetings the DLNR, because one of the other problems, I'll be very brief, down at Makalei, aside from all the other things that are going on with the mopeds, the speeding on the road, et cetera, so on and so forth, we have a problem the beach gets filled up and the seals go there all the time. And I witnessed myself, a young man not allowing a seal to come up on the beach because he was chasing it along. Now, he did not know he was a visitor, but he was overaged. And we pointed out to him that he shouldn't be running along the beach. It was very early in the morning. And I did speak to DLNR about perhaps coming down to Makalei Beach Park once a month to put their pamphlets out, be there for a few hours to educate the public. Because Makalei Beach Park, we get Rocky, Kaiwi, Loli'i, Kaimana, and the other ones I don't even know the names of. But the question is, Chair Welch, to the commission or through everybody here, can we get the DLNR to come to our meetings, please? Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Noella. With that, I would like to move on to our city administration for Mayor Blangiardi's representative.
Chair Dillon here.
Hi.
Anton, our Director Crucky, is not able to make it today. So I did put both the newsletter and the mayor's rep report is what we call it. And that encompasses all of the follow-up responses to questions that were raised to the mayor's rep at the last meeting. So both of those documents are already uploaded in the board's Google Drive. Anyone in the public, if you're not aware of the Google Drive, we have a link at the top of the agenda under meeting materials. You can just click that and you'll go right to it and you can skim through other folders. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for letting us know that. Are there folks who want to get something on the record for the mayor's office now? If you don't feel like emailing me or Dylan. Mr. Boydell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to question one of the responses from the mayor's office about an issue which the chair has often raised. And I agree with about the base yard at the Alawai Golf Course. And the response seemed to be that basically the Department of Facility Maintenance and Department of Environmental Services don't know why it's there and they're not involved with it. So I would just like to ask if someone at the Alawai Golf Course can find out what that construction area is there for. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been an eyesore for many, many years, and I my go ahead. You got someone there, Dylan? Or
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I will follow up on that and I'll direct it to Enterprise Services, which is the city department that runs Alawai Golf Course and all the other golf courses. So they might have a better answer.
And just to narrow it down, I did speak with the assistant director of DES before they had the new confirmed director, and she says, because I asked her, could we move the staging area inside of the golf course at that unused parking lot? She said, no, DES is using that for their own rehab of the golf course itself and their buildings. So this is state. So perhaps this is a question better for the governor's rep. Is this a state staging ground for the canal? Totally inappropriate to be here. It's just essentially an industrial construction site. Whether it's said it's temporary or not, it's been there for years and years, and it effectively acts as an industrial zone, and it's a visual blight. It's against a zero height limitation at that, and they are essentially on it's on Parks property, actually, because Parks is asked to use that as a base yard as well, because they're being kicked out of Kapiolani Park, and again, an inappropriate use for that area because it's zero construction height for any buildings on that area. But thank you, Mr. Boydell, for bringing that up because it's a perennial issue that we need to solve. Dylan, you got?
Yes, just for follow-up. So I know that this has been on the mayor's rep report for a while, and I did hear the response that you shared regarding it might be state is also using it. So moving forward, what would you like from our staff? What kind of question or response, or who would you like directed to? Because we work with the city, but if it's state, I would ask that maybe you, Chair, as your representative of the board, you could email whoever you think. might
I
be
will,
restricted.
yeah, I'll work with the state. They're using city land, so I'm not sure how they got that. There's some easement there of the city, so maybe we could attach it from both angles.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments that we want to have for the mayor's rep on file? If not, you can feel free to email those to us. And yes, in person.
Hi. No, I just wanted to bring attention to Arlene's comment in the chat. It kind of popped up for a second, but
Uh,
I
the
just
chat-
wanted.
Okay, she says from January 1st, 2024, for those of you who aren't on the chat, the fishermen will be allowed to fish from Kaimana Beach to Diamond Head Point. So this must be every even year that happens, just to be aware of that.
Yes, this is Arlene. I'm struggling with getting my hands up on my cell phone, but I am concerned about that because in the years since I've been living here 10 years ago, I've seen a great increase of the fishermen coming to Kaimana Beach during the even years. And right now we've had very 4 consistent seals visiting the beaches from not just Kaimana, the Barefoot Cafe, all the way down to Diamond Head Point. And these 4 seals are very active and prolific breeders, and we need to protect them. And I am concerned about their safety starting January 1st. And the marine sanctuary I found is at Black's Point, and then the Waikiki Sanctuary extends to the natatorium. So there's a very small area between the natatorium and Black's Point that is unprotected. And it would be nice if we could get that area. Maybe the governor seems to be doing emergency proclamations. Get him to do that for next year to protect these 4 monk seals. And then we can have a community discussion about making it law and getting DLNR to protect the whole coastline from Waikiki down to Diamond Head Point. That would be a huge consideration for the seals.
And would that fall under the state? Do you think? Arlene?
I've tried to figure that out. It's DLNR and the state because they all, I think it's DLNR after the high tide. I might have this confused, but somebody has control of the land, the sand until high tide. And then somebody has control of the land, I think it's the state after high tide. That point. And that keeps shifting, with sea level rise and everything that's going on. So, our monk seals really need protection right now. And I am concerned about what's going to happen in 3 months.
Okay, thank you. And Noella?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Ms. Velasco raises a wonderful point. When the last little pup was born down at Kaimana, I spoke to the DLNR. I go down there every day. I live very close. And I explained to them what was going on down here at Makalei. I like Ms. Velasco's point of the whole coastline. And for Makalei, it's well established at Kaimana, but when the seals are actually there, but there's no actual big blue signs like the tsunami signs or whatever signs, and Makalei needs them because they come here all the time. They do go to Diamond Head, not so much because the water is not good there. They're a little afraid of all the people on the beach, but Makalei and Kaimana are, the more peaceful of them. Once again, I bring it up that the DLNR, whoever they have their ABC initials, they should be in on these meetings. Ms. Velasco makes a very good point. The whole coastline, they do need protection. They are growing in numbers. Makalei Beach Park is a very, very nice little place for them to come and rest, as well as Kaimana, where they obviously like to have their pups. So signage would be wonderful. I don't care if it's the state, the city, the county. Hell, I'll make a sign. But but my point is, I like what she said, because it's important. And it's getting to a point of, I think it's critical. In closing, we are dealing with other things down here at this particular part of Diamond Head Road. We're being very patient, working with everybody. But you know, we also have to deal with that too. So thank you, Ms. Velasco, and thank you, Chairman Welch. And let's get the DLNR in on these meetings.
Thanks, Noella. And I just had a couple points in the chat. Amanda from Councilmember Waters' office says that in fact the Hawaiian dredging was given a DPP permit through the end of this year. I noticed most of the buildings are gone. I think there was just one at this point. I hope that this isn't going to continue, but I will respectfully disagree with you. The temporary base yard has helped to reduce illegal activities and homeless in the area. Not true. I walked by there. It's a bicycle stripping yard and a stripping yard of bottle caps, and actually a stripping yard because I've seen people literally having sex in that area. So not a and I assume that well, anyway, I don't know that it's reduced crime. I think having not a big black barrier along two of the streets fronting Kapahulu might help also to reduce crime as well. So, oh, I see. Thank you, Amanda. She says it's GPP's response. Yes, because common sense says, and common observation says it's not true. I did also want to follow up about the DTS. Some of us were able to go down, especially concerned residents of and fronting Makalei Place, and meet with Roger Morton. We had a very good meeting with at least 5 members of the department down there, and exhaustively went over some ideas and concerns of residents in the area that have been brought up to this board last month about different traffic calming measures, whether it's speed bumps, speed humps, reduction in speed, accidents that have happened, the need for immediate action and whatnot. So I think the DTS is elevating this to a priority 1 issue, and they are working on as fast as they can work on some solutions that they will come back to the community for. And that's why we have a placeholder there for them well, I guess that was not for them, but we will have one for, City Department of Transportation Services. So we do have that there. And I just wanted to say I don't believe anyone from DTS is here tonight. Okay, so I just wanted to let people know that is being worked on. We may call a traffic safety or a traffic and safety committee if necessary to follow up on that. But thank you for all who brought up concerns and comments about that, and it is going on. So, okay, with that, are there any other comments on this? Then I would move on to elected officials. If not, we'll start with Representative Kobayashi. And I do believe I got a letter from him saying that, I don't know if he said he wasn't going to be here, but I think he sent something for us still, and did he not put into our OneDrive?
I believe that was Representative Sayama, but we might have also received his newsletter. I'll wait until Sayama's section.
Okay, then that is next for Jackson Sayama.
Pardon me, Angie? Okay, perfect. So I did want to, Representative Sayama is not on, and neither is his staff, but they did call us earlier. They just wanted to make an announcement for all of you that there is a town hall meeting on Thursday, October 19th from 7 to 8 p.m. at Hopulani Elementary School cafeteria. And this is in regards to the Wa'ahila Ridge State Park. And the 2 topics that they'll be discussing is the proposed disc golf course, and the second one is wildfire management. I was told that DLNR is hosting the meeting along with Representative Sayama, and Board of Water was also invited. I'm looking at Ms. Pahinui right now. They can speak to it later, but that was just a phone call I had from Representative Sayama's staff. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Dylan. And so I'll put that also, unless you can, in the chat about that meeting up at Wahiala Ridge. And we had a presentation from the disc golf folks a while ago, but also fire issues. I mean, if I lived up there, I definitely want to know a little bit more about what the state's doing and what I could do. So thank you for that. Let's move on then to Mr. Chang. As is Senator Stanley Chang, or is representative here today? So he sends out a lot of housing updates. If not, we will move on to Senator Ihara. Is anyone from Senator Ihara's office here? He may be exhausted from the Saturday meeting and preparing for the upcoming one. Mr. Waters, if you are still here, we would love to hear from you again.
Well, Chair Welch, I am still here. In the event that Councilmember Say is unable to make it today, because he and I were talking earlier today, I'm happy to take questions for him.
Thank you.
But without stirring the pot too much, the LOI Bridge, I'm so happy to hear Laura Ruby say that he's open to a more modest compromise. I did attend a few of the community meetings where the community actually picked the current design, but perhaps we can talk to the Director of Transportation Services, because if the community is willing to accept a more modest design, that might be a win-win for everybody. I will tell you, having represented, and I do represent Waikiki, they are all in favor of the bridge. And I do want to encourage folks to invite folks from that side of the LOI to the September 19th meeting. I want to thank Margaret Murchie for asking HPD about enforcement of the mopeds at Makalei Beach Park, because it really is an enforcement issue. I did also, my staff is reaching out to Chaminade and the University of Hawaii to talk to perhaps the students there to be more conscious of our park rules. I do caution everyone that if they don't park in the park, they're going to be parking in the neighborhood next to the park, which really doesn't solve the problem. But perhaps riding a bike rather than a moped. I do want to also keep everyone thinking about the LOI flood mitigation project. Right, the Army Corps of Engineers still hasn't issued their final recommendations, but if anyone attended the last meeting that they had via Zoom a couple months ago, it seems like they're favoring the 5-foot walls around the LOI. Of course, I'm speculating, but that's just my reading of that meeting. And, I don't think anybody wants 5-foot walls around the LOI. That would be horrible. But I think that we all should be vigilant and keep an eye on that. And as soon as I get the report from the Army Corps of Engineers, I'll be sure to share it with you folks. I'm not sure who brought that next. I'm not sure who brought that brochure that's on the table here dealing with the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services tax brochure. That was you, Dylan. Wonderful. Thank you. We need to get a whole stack of those and hand them out, because basically reminding everybody, if you don't have your homeowner's exemption, the deadline to apply is October 2nd. Again, the deadline to apply for a homeowner's exemption is October 2nd. I just want to also encourage everyone to put your spouse on there as well. You could even put your kids on there as well, because every year what happens is, say a spouse passes away and the surviving spouse is not on the homeowner's exemption. The house actually gets kicked up into residential A, and sometimes property taxes in that case go up by 3 times. And every year it happens, and I've been fighting for these folks and trying to change the law, but it's been very, very difficult. So I along with actually Budget and Fiscal Services have gone out to the community and just reminding folks to apply for the homeowner's exemption and include your spouse on there as well, or your partner, I should say. The other thing that was really cool about that brochure, Dylan, was that we passed a law this um, this year increasing the low income tax credit from $60,000 to $80,000. And that brochure will tell you how to apply for that. But real simple, go to the Budget and Fiscal Services website and look for the application. Again, that application is due on October 2nd as well. And what that does, folks, if you make $80,000 or less combined income on title holders of the property, you're limited to 3% of your income will be your tax. So that's good. I also put on the table there a senior informational assistant handbook, and it's produced by the Elderly Affairs Division of the city, and it's really, really cool, right? Even if you're not a senior citizen, you could use this book. It deals with food banks, how to get meals if you need it, housing, transportation, community services, education, family support, end-of-life services, in-home assistance, healthcare, income security, financial help, and more. So, folks, if you haven't picked up one of these books, please do. Again, it's put out by the city and it's fantastic. Last thing I wanted to talk about is the ACLU is currently suing the city, dealing with the enforcements that the city have been doing, such as the ones on Diamond Head. And we may want to have the city come and explain to this community what that lawsuit means. Because basically the city is doing a lot to try to mitigate what's happening with homeless folks, and we're getting sued over this. And it'd be really, really good idea for you folks to actually know what that lawsuit means. They're not asking for money, they're just asking us to stop those enforcements. But anybody who's been around during those enforcements, you know that there's tons and tons of garbage, single-use plastics, hypodermic needles, right? All over the place during these enforcements. We did a cleanup in Diamond Head a while back with the Surfrider Foundation, and we had surfers with no shoes on walking through the slopes of Diamond Head where there's hypodermic needles. I'm like, oh my God, it's so dangerous. But to me, it's a health issue as well. But I as well as my fellow council members is put money in the budget to actually build places for people to live. We got to encourage the city, Anton Truckee, and others to actually use that money and build places for people to live. Of course, we do have to decide where we want these places built because, as you know, they could cause other traffic problems and other things of that nature. But anyway, I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Margaret, or I'm sorry, is there anyone in person who has a question first?
Anybody in person?
No, Ms. Murchie.
Tommy, I know you're not on chat and I know Amanda's there, but I did mention it to Roger's office, but the blueoloicanal.org is running multiple ads on all TV stations, even CNN. And this is a project that was turned down. They want to clean up the Oloi and open the canal at either end. And if you go to their website, they have a master plan for building luxury homes on the Diamond Head side. And Roger's office kind of laughed about it, but they're brainwashing people. And, these ads are every time you watch the news, you get one of these ads. And it's to open the canal at either end. And I know that it's not legitimate, but is there something you guys can do about that?
Well, I will tell you that nothing of that nature has come to the Honolulu City Council or to the city for all I know. So that if it ever does come to us, you folks will be the first to know. But
Well,
I think
it
you're
has,
right.
I think, in the past.
It may be a persuasion piece to try to get
Exactly.
support.
But
But yeah,
Michelle said that part of the project that they were proposing was in untrust lands, and so there's no way that they would ever be able to get it. But every single time I turn on the TV, I've got that ad going.
you
And
may
it's on
recall there was a
all the
different
TV
ad running a
stations.
few weeks ago trying to get the LOI golf course converted as well. And it's
Oh,
the same
well,
thing, that there's
yeah.
no official action going on. And
Yeah,
again,
just so you
I'm
know,
not I'm not
somebody
gonna
should
support that.
yeah, but somebody should contact the TV stations or the media or somebody, and just say it's not happening. Maybe
Thank
they're
you,
just trying to
Margaret.
brainwash.
Okay, thank you. And Laura?
Yes, Council Chair Waters, thank you for bringing up the Alawai watershed and the Army Corps of Engineers. I've been to all of the meetings and I have proposed various things that are modest. But for 4 different meetings, they come back with the same definition of putting the flood control walls up 6 feet, by the way, and they just do not seem to be flexible to change that at all. And second of all, if you can have any effect at all, there's 3 different very large projects that are going on. The Army Corps of Engineers, the Complete Streets, and that proposed bridge. They're not working together. And so all of this stuff really doesn't matter unless they're all working together. Thank you.
No, very good point. Thank you. You know what's interesting about the LOI flood mitigation project? The funding that we used to have, which was amounting to about $300 million, is no longer there. So while they're doing all this planning, nobody's talking about actually how we're going to pay for it, which may or may not be a blessing in disguise.
Okay. Thank you, Tommy.
Okay, thank you.
And I did want to say, Tommy, sorry for you run away. First of all, thank you for coming tonight. We love to see you and Mr. Say and all of our elected representatives. And I know you've got a lot of different boards that you answer to. So we appreciate you taking the time here, and also to your staff, which is always so responsive to us. Yeah, I did want to echo what Laura was saying, because for those of us that follow these issues, just on the Alawai project and the bridge, the project didn't even know about the bridge, and this is after massive things. So what we really do need some flexibility on DTS. I mean, that's an aside, but yeah, now that there's, maybe we could look at a different sort of type of bridge, and maybe you could have some influence in that as with the DTS, and just let them know. I think part of what we saw with Senator Ihara and Fukunaga was that they're bringing together folks that are kind of really tired of these fait accompli of saying, here's our project, love it, and just a perfunctory or involvement by the public, is really informing rather than finding out what the public wants. And I realize that the city's departments have a function to plan for us all. I mean, they're on a higher pay grade than we are, but they can't ignore our community concerns. And you all and city council have faced it, some very irate people over different projects recently, as you're very well aware. And I think part of that is that the public has felt left out of this, and not necessarily well, it's a systemic problem, and it comes before our board, and we see it. So anything that we can do to increase timeframes of folks coming before us, if they have an idea, it needs to be a really consultative process with the communities that they're looking at whatever projects they are, so that people feel that they've been heard, listened to, consulted. And it's just a general thing. I don't know if you can share that, and I said council members say is here too, that people want to be involved. They want to know what's going on. And I think we've gotten into a little bit of a silo mentality, especially with COVID, didn't help with meetings and not having folks know. But anything that you can do to help with openness, whether it's mandating it or just encouraging the city to be very proactive, aggressively consulting with community members way in advance and ongoing, not just temporary things, would be most appreciated. But we appreciate you and the hard work that you do, and all of our council members. We know that you have the best interests of our city at heart, and thank you for coming again tonight.
My pleasure, Chair. Thank you all. Appreciate your service as well.
Thank you. With that, I would like to invite Councilmember Say. I see your.
I'm here, Winston. I just wanted
Okay.
to say thank you to all of you for participating this evening. I'm happy I heard about all the different topics and issues that were of concerns to the residents. And I can say that we are trying, and we have been very accessible to all of the calls and emails that I do get from the office. All of you should recognize that I have two staffers with us this evening. Melvia who helped Mr. Ed Kuba, and Janelle, who's here also attending some of the other meetings that we have. But I believe Chair Waters stated for the record that we're very, very busy there. And I apologize. If there's one thing that could be done, is to see if the legislature next year can maybe amend Chapter 201H. They had a bill this year. It didn't go that far, but at least we tried as a council to get that particular state law amended. Okay.
Okay, and questions for Councilmember Say in person?
Anybody in person? No.
Okay, and we have a few online, and Linda, you got to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you.
You got to shut off one of your devices, Linda.
I don't have, I just have one on. I don't know what to do.
You're on twice, Linda. You have either.
Go ahead. Will you give me advice that I could do?
Nope, you got to turn
Linda.
off your phone or turn off your computer. Turn off one of them, or your iPad. You got two devices going.
Yeah, Linda, I currently muted you. We're getting feedback. It's just an echoing. So maybe your laptop speaker. Are you on an iPad or a laptop? Okay. So yeah, just mute the speaker and then you should be okay. As long as your microphone is open, we just don't need to hear your speaker give us all the feedback. So I just request unmute. So see if you see a button that allow you to unmute yourself. You're still muted. Still muted. I think if you hold the space bar, it will temporarily unmute you. Give that a try. Hold it down while you.
Can I do my thing just really fast while she's trying to figure it out? I just want to let Kelvin and Melvie know that the tents are back under the freeway again today.
Okay. Got it. Well, that's where I think Tommy said that we need all of your help in regards to the lawsuit that is in the courts today about our city ordinances that are being challenged by ACLU. But thank you.
And while Linda's trying to figure it out, I believe I sent to you and Tommy a very long article in the New Yorker today, and it was about how New York, while it has approximately the same number of homeless folks that Los Angeles does, they are mandated by law back past, I think in the 80s, that says they must provide housing for these folks. And it was an expose sort of on what these look like in a very dense urban environment with, you know, a lot of similar problems. But it was interesting, a very different approach for what we have, which is a free-for-all like California, rather than a mandated approach that says you must, we have to pay for it anyway. And we all know that it's more expensive to have the homeless on the streets and all of that and all the concomitant problems that come with it and the lawsuits and whatnot. So I wonder if we might not look at a different approach like New York has. And obviously we need to do this in concert with the West Coast states, because I would put everybody on a plane here too if we had some sort of automatic housing. But it's not impossible. I just wonder if we might look at some different approaches in this. And you're on mute too.
I believe we could do it as if we look at it from a statewide level at this point in time and just focus on the homeless population. The bigger issue for all of us, like I shared before to the other boards, is the fact that once you have a shelter for these homeless individuals, do we have the wraparound services, the medical wraparound services for these individuals? And that's another costly item that we'll all have to pay as far as trying to get them rehabilitated. But I'll bring it up with the staff, and you folks all, I'm trying to not reinvent. I'm just trying to bring up the issue about shopping carts, which I was criticized. That's number one. And number two, also trying to get our city and county parks closed for 1 week rather than having it open all night, all day, etc. That for 1 week is going to be very difficult for these individuals who are camping over there being able to stay there. So for this district, it is a big issue. St. Louis Heights, Diamond Head, Kapahulu. And Margaret is correct. Margaret, once you get them out, they're just back the next couple of days. And I think what Chair Waters is saying, yeah, we all have to come together to decide if you folks believe that the 2 county ordinances that we have is really helping to some degree, even though it's not working as well as what we had thought it would be, because like you folks see it, I get the calls every week from Crane Park to Makiki Park to Cartwright to Inha Park to Alawai Park to Mother Waldron Park in Kaka'ako. All of these parks have become comfort zones for the homeless. And now, they have even camped out at the Macaulay Library, if you notice, on King Street. And look at the fence that they had erected in front of the library. I felt so sad when I saw that, because it's like putting up a major barricade for people not to attend or enter the Macaulay Library. And these are all the issues that I deal with as far as the 7 neighborhood boards I do attend.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. And we'll give Linda one more chance at it.
Oh, yeah.
You want to try again, Linda? Maybe you can put it in the chat. It's
Wait, okay, can you hear me now?
Got it. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Calvin, can you tell us what procedure or what bill you're talking about when you say whatever bill? Because we don't know what bill it is that you're referring to.
Okay. In my report, there's a section where it highlights what measures as far as bills or resolutions have been introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, you can take a look at it, or else you can, put it in the chat, and Janelle or Melvia will be able to respond tomorrow.
Can you just tell me what bill you were talking about?
Okay, it's resolution 23-201.
What's it about?
Resolution 23-201 and Bill 49 of 2023, if I stand corrected, reading my report.
Yeah, but what were you talking about?
Okay, Bill 49, 2023. This bill would prohibit shopping carts on public spaces.
Okay, and the other one was what?
This one was the park. This resolution would urge the Department of Parks and Recreation to create a rotational schedule of week-long park closures in order to allow for grass and fields to rest and to vitalize and to support the Department of Parks and Recreation to conduct other activities, weeding, leveling the grass, and other rehabilitation work for our parks.
Thank you very much.
But I would say this, Winston, if all of you have other ideas in trying to address the homeless situation, a lot of people tell me it's all part of the community already, and we have to accept them.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that most people want, as voters consistently say, this is the number one issue for them, right up there. So I would say we don't want to accept it. I think we need different solutions that we haven't done, and it's not easy. I mean, it's going to require everyone coming together, not just the city, but the state, communities, all of. We got to do different things that we're not doing right now, and some things that we are doing right now. But yeah, it's a big chew, but we're up for the task. We're, great peoples that have solved a lot worse problems before. So, and with that, I think that,
I can ask one more question.
yes, ma'am.
When do you say, Calvin, that you'll have any housing for the homeless built?
When we will have,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
we are doing some of these construction and rehabilitation of apartments and apartments and single home, but more importantly, it is happening in other parts of the county.
But when will anything be built?
For built meaning new construction, or
Well, anything that they can move into?
it's already happening.
Yeah, but when will it be done? When is it slated to be done?
Well, I can't tell you at this point in time because this is just a point of, it's only like, let's say this is September. There may be projects that's moving on right now, but I can get you a list of all of these shelters that are available for the homeless. Because part of the ordinance is that you have to provide shelter to those that you are going to, how would you say, ask that they be put to a home where they could have some shelter. I can get you the numbers if you want that, but Anton would have more.
I had a girl living with me from IHS, and she had to carry a key around her neck just to keep people from getting her things. It's not very wholesome in there.
Right.
I think, Arlene in the chat said that, this is, she had a point that the homeless need to be housed. They need access to restroom, shower facilities. They might be mentally ill and sick, but let's start another subcommittee on this issue. I think that's a reasonable thing, is that we could have a committee on, it could go under public safety, because you can't feel safe if you're sleeping outside either. So that might be a place where we have that. But in any event, it's not something we're going to solve tonight, certainly. And, but it does demand new solutions. And I think the council members, well aware of different and proffered some different ideas. We got a couple more questions here in person. Let's go to that first.
Thank you, Councilmember Say, for coming. I did have a question. When you mentioned homelessness in the areas, especially in waterfront, last year there was a few shelters that shut down on that side. I was wondering if you knew if there was going to be any new shelters that are coming up, and also just for the board, I don't know if you knew this or were aware of this, but the Waikiki Business Improvement District did just do a partnership to have a dedicated outreach member. And I do also have to disclaim that that is actually who I work for, so I was a little self-indulgent there. But yeah, I was just wondering what your number say.
Okay, I can get you the information in regards to the homeless shelters that we do have in existence and what we are planning for in the future. But I can say this also, that the property that the city and county acquired on Kapiolani, the old Tokai University, that will be a shelter someday. And the next question that you had was, I think the best person, the expert for this would be Director Crucky. So I apologize if I haven't, responded to all of your questions.
No, thank you. That was more of a comment at the end. But the homeless shelter one was a question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And Laura?
Yes, Winston, thank you. I would just direct your board, they want to set up a housing committee. Just 2 meetings ago at the Moele Ely Neighborhood Board, Louis Galdera stepped
Yes.
forward to become a housing chair for there. And he came in this last meeting, which is just a short time ago, and he had a great outline of all kinds of things that could be done and ways in which the community come in. I'd suggest that you don't reinvent the wheel. Just ask him for that information or have him come and talk to you or join forces, whatever it takes. But that, I thought he did an excellent job, and I would support whatever he's doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And I wanted to thank Melvia, because Melvia did attend that homeless meeting that they had at Caldwell Park. That's the lower part of the university campus.
Thank you. That's an excellent idea, Laura. If you could get me Lewis's contact info. Yeah, no need. Okay, I'll look it up from Moele Ely Neighborhood Board, but no need to reinvent the wheels here, but joining forces and sharing great ideas, anything we can do.
Yes.
I mean, this is all of us. This is our community, and we're all affected by it. Whether we're experiencing homelessness or whether we, walking by it, or all of the ill effects that happen with it. It's number one on the list as far as I'm concerned. But thank you so much, Councilmember Say, for coming tonight.
Nope,
And thank you
thank
for
you.
Janelle and also Melvia. We appreciate
Melvia, yeah.
their great responses for us and responsiveness as well.
And nice to see Bruce and Margaret. Margaret, there's a monster home on Lancaster now. We're monitoring that too.
Thank you. Just for note, it's
Move
8:10.
the homeless in there.
Yeah, I can't. We're at 8:10. I can't believe it. We're like breakneck pace today. So that's awesome, because we have some time for the perfectly lovely Kathleen from Board of Water Supply, who I always love hearing her voice. It's soothing and calming, and has some news about a lot of people want to know about our Board of Water Supply water rate increases and some information about that. So thank you again for staying late for our meeting here tonight, Kathleen. And it is a pleasure to have you here. So thank you for the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, board members and community members. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because I know you all read the wonderful information that Dylan sent you guys, both the deck and the flyer with all the detailed information on the rates. So hopefully you have all of that. So Stella, okay. Dylan, great. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Everyone knows we have a very large, complex system. Next slide. And as many of you know, we're semi-autonomous. We're solely funded by ratepayers. We receive no funding from the city for property taxes, and our rate increases only apply to the water, not to the sewer. The sewer is overseen by the Department of Environmental Services. Next slide. This just shows you where the money goes. The bulk of our money goes into operations and maintenance, with labor being the second largest if you added the 10% and the 19%, debt service, and then we have electricity was 12%. We all know our electrical bills went up, no different than anybody else. Next, please. So people ask, what'd you do with the last 5-year increase? Well, last 5 years, we've taken that money that we've received from our ratepayers. We've spent it on nearly 500 projects, totaling almost $800 million. The bulk of which are in the construction phase. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, as we all know, COVID hit all of us, hit businesses very hard. As you know, many businesses shut down, some never reopened. We were no different. With the change in customer water patterns, the non-residential customers who tend to pay, who do pay the most, weren't paying because they weren't open. So even though the water usage didn't really go down, the rate everything changed in how much money we were bringing in. Next slide, please. Inflation hit us like everyone. Last set of 5-year increases totaled just under 13%. However, inflation was closer to 21%. So we were operating clearly at a deficit, and we weren't able to purchase as much with the money we were raising. One of the biggest single costs, next slide, please, is electrical. And no surprise there, we have all felt it. our electrical bill for 2023 fiscal year was $33 million. And this is in addition to having PV on almost every single one of our facilities. If you come downtown, you'll see we have PV all over our parking lot now. So you can see, even though our total kilowatt hours went down, the monthly cost and the energy cost factor kept going up, just like all of us, you know, even though we may be not running our air conditioning, didn't matter, our bill going up every month. Next slide, please. Red Hill hit us. We've talked a lot about Red Hill. I know this is a subject this board is very concerned about. We're in the process of doing exploratory drinking wells and installing more monitoring wells. And even though we are pursuing federal funds on a number of levels and we have received money, we want to thank our council members, our state elected officials, and the federal government, federal officials, elected officials for helping us either look for new funding or providing us with funds through the CARES Act and the Build Better Act. So we're very grateful for that, but still we're going to need more money. Most of these costs won't be realized until toward the end of the 5-year rate schedule. Next slide, please. We've tightened our belt. Our boss, Ernie Lau, has been very diligent in ensuring that we don't have our surplus that we carry over year to year has gotten smaller and more in line that our budgets, our total costs, our actual spends versus our budget has tightened up considerably over the years. And this past fiscal year, we only did a budget increase of 0.2% despite inflation. And we also didn't do things like buy new equipment. We deferred other projects. And we also have a energy cost adjustment that we did not pass on to our ratepayers because of things like COVID. We knew everyone was struggling and we didn't feel it was the right thing to do. Next slide, please. So we're balancing safe and dependable water service with rate affordability, kind of what we all do. What can we afford to purchase? What can we hold off on? Next slide. This is where the money will go. This is our budget on capital projects for the next 5 years, what we're looking at. As you can see in that big yellow segment, we're going to be spending a lot of money, as I mentioned earlier, on monitoring and exploring wells. And then we're still going to continue on the pipeline. That's the top brown bar, orange on this screen. And then we will increase it towards the end of the 5-year. We also have another reservoir coming up in Wyava, 8.5 million gallons that will help us with our capacity for town. Next slide. And some people may not know, but we have several classes in our rate structure. Single family is by far the largest. It accounts for 90% of our customers. It use nearly about 35% of our water that we pump. And we only recover 95% of the cost of service. When we do the 5-year schedule, we do something called a rate study, which includes cost of service. And that tells us how much it costs us to deliver water to each of our customer classes. So single family, largest customer class, don't pay the full cost of service. Multi-unit residential, 5 years ago when we did this, they were paying considerably over 100%, and we didn't think that was fair. So we brought them down to 100%. And multi-unit, we mean anything over a duplex. So 3 units or most, so condos, townhomes. Agriculture, it is a policy of the board and has been since the late 60s to subsidize ag water rates. It is a community value, and we think that's important to support both the city and state food sustainability and food security. Non-residential pays 117%. They pay well over the cost of service. They actually subsidize single family, agricultural, and then our non-potable and recycled. As many of you may know, we have a facility out at Honouliuli next to the E&V station. And at that point, I'm going to, well, wait, no, we got one more slide. I'm sorry. The most important slide, what are the rate increases we're looking at? So the first increase will actually be February 1st of 10%, July 1st, 10%, then 9%, 8.5%, 8%, and 8%. That's what we're looking at. So the details on how that will affect the various classes are in the handout. So I don't want to belabor that because I know we are running out of time. So at this point, Chair, with your pleasure, I'd like to go ahead and just take questions from the board and the community.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. And we're actually doing great on time, shockingly. So I just had one quick question for you before I open this up was, um, so the overall cumulative increase is about 5% or something like that?
Actually, it's more than that. It's a little over 66% over the 5 years.
And that's in today's dollars. It wouldn't be inflated as each, okay, year. And also, is this the rates are determined by a Board of Water Supply Commission? Is that right?
It's a
Or
rate, so we hire a consultant, we do this rate study every 5 years, and they give us, what it will cost, what they look at all of our financials, they look at all the money, the revenues coming in, and then they put together what we call a cost of service study, and that's how we determine our rates on what we think our expenses are going to be over the next 5 years, what kinds of projects we have coming down the road that we need to address, and that's how we come up with the rates. Our board of directors are the final deciders on the rates or not. So they'll say, well, yes, this looks good, or they'll say, well, can we adjust this a little bit?
okay, and I had a couple other questions of, and not exactly with this, but is this sort of disaster proofing some of our water supplies as well, in case there is a fire or I guess an earthquake might break lines, but hurricanes. I remember when we had the earthquake in 2000-ish, maybe it was 2 or 4 or something like that. Seemed like the water was shut off at that time, but is this doing something for general, maybe hurricanes, disaster preparedness, and planning? You mentioned like that your trucks are maybe a little bit old. Would this be buying some extra capacity or hardening of water supplies? Or delivery or something along those lines?
Let's see, is Barry here somewhere? Maybe he can help me with this question. Technically, no, we are actually required to have disaster plans and through the city and all sorts of things in line already. And Ernie, our boss, has done a tremendous job of already looking at this because we had things like Douglas and Lane and the one I remember when I first started at the Board of Water Supply that came through, it wasn't even a hurricane, it was a big storm. And so he's got generators. We have plans on where we place generators for critical services throughout the island. Our island water system is, most of it is connected, but not all of it connected. For example, North Shore is its unique water system. Mililani has its own unique water system. And there are other parts of the island like that. But we've been constantly updating our plans on a regular basis. And there may be some capacity things. So I'm going to let Barry Usagawa, and I apologize, I neglected to address that we have several other folks in here, very important people actually. We have our Deputy Manager, Erwin Kawatas here. We have our Waterworks Controller, Joe Cooper. And then, of course, I think many of you know Barry Usagawa from our Water Resources, who's I know has presented to you guys well before. And I also have with me from my team, Stella Bernardo, who's the wizard of the web and digital and so many other things that we can't do without her. But Barry, you want to add a few words?
She got it, man. I don't know what she needs me for, but thank you for the question. Yeah, part of our standards anticipates hurricanes and earthquake loading and stuff. What I am working on with the city is climate adaptation and trying to harden for and adapt to sea level rise and plan for flooding, drought. Going to be adding wildfires to our emergency response plan as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of resilience type of efforts, not just in projects, but also in planning response. All of that's, the rate increase will help us fund more of those types of strategies and methods.
Thank you. And if I might just, Bruce, I see you're waving there. I just while I've got Kathleen, I noticed that Queens has put out a big campus expansion, and I wonder if the BWS land behind there is always going to be BWS, or if you've thought about selling that off, if that's uh, something. And also, how have you been affected by these 2018 waivers that are, I don't know if they're actually required by law that you have to accept that or not? And if you could address those couple points.
Yeah, actually, we actually have looked at redeveloping our Bear Canyon campus a couple of times, and at this time, we're not, it's just is never really penciled out, and we aren't interested in selling it because we do use it. But at this time, we're not planning on doing any redevelopment of our campus, and we've had conversations with Queens a couple of times about that, but again, nothing has really penciled out. On the second question, the 201H, Barry actually did a rather thorough review of that. So Barry, would you like to talk to the governor's proclamation and what that might impact to us? Thank you.
First of all, yeah, we have a pretty good sized PV generating system over our parking lot right now. Anyway, for 201H affordable housing, there is a slide in the deck that says that we still are going to be providing waivers of our impact fee for qualifying affordable housing. So we support that. I think we spent 2.5 billion in waivers actually to help that effort out. And I think in the city they've waived other fees too. In terms of the governor's proclamation for housing, our manager is on that review committee. I forgot the working, and so he will direct specific projects to our staff. And we're looking for: is there water available? Is there fire protection? Is there enough pressure? So we look to see if the capacity of the system handle. And for the most part, it is. We haven't denied any maintenance. Certainly supported, and it's happening. I think.
Margaret, I saw your question. We do not give waivers to luxury developers. It's only for affordable and homeless housing. And yes, I do know the luxury developers will come in and say they have an affordable component. We do not give any waivers until they literally come in with their building permits, because we do know, as you are all aware, things change. And it can start out with 100 units, and by the time they show up and get ready to build, it's down to 10 units. So they only get a waiver for the 10 units. That's all they do. And we do it up to 500 units, but I believe most of the projects we've done have been truly affordable or homeless projects. So that's the way I hear it. And we've given $2.5 million. So thank you. By the way, we do have two other waivers that we're looking at this year that I neglected to mention, or one waiver and one other program. The waiver is for ag meters for new farmers. We really want to, again, support new farmers. We want to support farming sustainability. So the new farmer, somebody's going to try and farming, they come in, we will waive that meter cost. This is in conjunction with $1 million we received from the state a few years ago from the legislature for a well in Cunilla. So this is our give back for that funding that we received. The second thing is we have a Kapuna direct install program that we're hoping to get approved by the board. What that means is Kapuna that live on their own. We've been doing a lot of direct install in various affordable and senior housing over the last few years with a program that we have with Honeywell that Barry's team oversees. We want to expand that. We do know there are a lot of seniors that still live on their own and maybe on fixed incomes. And we want to try and reach those people, because sometimes what happens is they may have a leak on their property and they're not aware of it. So we've been talking with St. Francis. We've met with them. And this actually came out at one of the mayor's town halls. The lady from St. Francis actually went up to Ernie and started talking to him about this. And it's something he's been noodling around as well. And then we've met with the city elderly services, Marsha, Tamura, and Derek. And so we're going to hopefully get that approved and proceed with that. And so we hope that that will also offset any of the increases that we're doing by doing these additional programs. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another question for Kath? I'm sorry, Bruce. was cutting you off there. I didn't mean to. I just got on a tear. So Bruce, if you can.
Yeah, the one question that I have is, if we start out with $100 water bill on January 2024, what would that bill look like 5 years down the road with all the
Okay,
increases?
single family home, single family, sir?
Single family home, yes.
Okay, by depending on how much water you use, for example, if you use less than 2,000 gallons a month, if you're a low water user, which 10% of the people in our system are, your water bill by that time, hold on just 1 second, low water user, here we go. You're currently, and this is your total bill, including your meter, your customer charge. So remember, the bill's made up of water use and the customer charge. So you would currently be paying around $21 currently. At the end of July, by July 2028, you would be paying about $30. So about a $9 increase.
But if you start out with $100 bill, water
Okay.
bill, what would that look like down the road?
Probably about, I believe, Joe, that would be about $166. Say if you just put in the full percentage, because remember our rates are tiered for single and multi. So your first 2,000 gallons. So if you just off the top of my head, an average water user home single family, that's 9,000 gallons a month. So that crosses a couple of different tiers. So you would go from about $65 to about $98. So that's about $30. So you're looking somewhere probably between $30 to $40, sir. That's my best guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for our Board of Water Supply?
Can I speak?
Sure.
All right, so this is Arlene. So I looked thoroughly over your charts, and to me it seemed so the most reasonable government rate increase I've ever seen. And I think that what concerned me most about the looking at your review was the concern about the concern about the contamination in our water.
Oh, yeah. No, we're very concerned about that. And as you mentioned, Red Hill, yeah.
Yeah, Red Hill. It seems to me that when I was looking at through everything, it seemed to me the rate increases were really trying to incorporating all the wells to monitor what happened at Red Hill.
Well, not just, actually, the rate increases cover all of our operations and maintenance. Red Hill's just a part of that. And as you saw on that chart that I showed, we have a big yellow, that big yellow line. So you're correct. Early on, we see, and then we'll have some more expenses later. But it's not just the only thing that we're covering, but it's not insignificant. You are correct, Arlene.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions in person or online?
Yes, we have member Knight.
I have a
Okay.
question. What does PV stand for?
Polyvinyl chloride pipe, I believe. Is that, oh, no, photovoltaic. I'm sorry, photovoltaic. I'm thinking PVC.
Follow-up question. What does that mean?
Oh, those are the solar panels on your roof. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, sorry about that.
There's
I
a
was
lot
thinking
of
pipes.
no, there's just a lot of acronyms that were flying around. So
Yep.
thank you so much, though,
Add that to our list.
for showing up and giving this presentation. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, board member.
Yeah, I think a Board of Water Supply is especially universally loved is in the last couple of years as heroes trying to save our water and protect what we've got. So we really appreciate the great work that you folks do for us day in and day out. It's one of those things that you just turn on the faucet and expect us to, have clean, safe water. And I think a lot of folks in the world can't take that for granted. And because we live on this precious island with very limited resources and no real great plan B or aquifer B, we have to count on you for protecting that. So thank you again
Thank
for
you.
coming tonight.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Aloha.
Hi, I don't mean to interrupt, but I did put a couple of questions in the chat specifically for the young lady that gave us the good information about the
She
Department of
called me
Water.
young. I love it.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry, I didn't see those. Okay, the questions were, um,
let me see if I can find them in the chat again. This, you may have already spoken about this. I just don't know. Uh, the increasing drafts that we've had tied to the increased development, including the monster houses, we've had a degreening of the islands, and has the water company in conjunction with um, the other appropriate departments, have they looked at ways that we can regreen the island, thus getting more water capture? That's one thing. And then on the water capture part, I was curious if we have um, uh, any capturing of the excess water that can be funneled to use either as brown water or as the appropriate thing. I don't know the terminology. So those were two of the questions that I had. And the third part of it is the hotels, as we all know, when we're on vacation, we act a little differently, maybe take a longer shower or maybe take three, because we jumped in the water plenty. Are the hotels with their millions of visitors, is there an area where we could source some revenue from them? Not a high amount, but a little bit more, because we have a lot of water going to them too.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Excellent questions. Dylan, could you go back to her first question, please? So I make sure I answer it correctly. I think did you pass it? Yeah, you passed it. There it is. There it is. Yes, we do have a number of programs in place on water conservation. In fact, we have partnerships, as I mentioned earlier, with several watershed organizations, YNI and Ko'olau. We work with them. We give them money to help, and we have a whole staff of people that go out and help plant plants in the watershed, remove invasives such as albizia, and try to plant native plants. We have a xeriscape garden where we try to practice and teach people the principles of xeriscaping, which is Hawaiian natives and which are very drought tolerant plants, and put water back into the aquifer. And again, we are to have a whole slew of rebates and programs both on the residential and commercial side that Barry's team oversees. It's called Water Sensible. And just go to our website, borderwatersupply.com, under water conservation, and you'll find tons of information there that we encourage people. We just started up our toilet rebate again. It's proven very popular. And we're proud to say since 2018, since we started this program, we're back up to, I'm looking for Barry, he's behind me. We've saved, gosh, about 1 billion gallons of water. It's a lot.
Wow.
And we're very grateful to Barry's team for all the hard work, and to his consultant that he's been working with these past number of years.
That's great news, by the way. That's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And then with Barry's team, my team, we have people we have been calling commercial properties. We have developed really positive relationships with all the property management companies because a lot of, remember, if you don't get a bill from us, you don't pay attention to how much water you use. So we realize that a big market out there for us in terms of water savings are condominiums and townhomes. So we've been working very closely with a number of these across the island to encourage them to use water-based irrigation controllers, maybe to do different kinds of metering, things like that, to help them not only just reduce their water, but also reduce their water bill as well. We have a very robust rain barrel program. We're going to be out at the freshwater park in Wahiawa in October for Imagine a Day Without Water, October 21st, and we're going to be demonstrating rain barrels and things like that. We partner with a lot of state and city agencies on that. So we have a very strong rain barrel program. Again, you can find a lot of good information on our website. We do workshops where you can get a barrel from us and then we work with you to help you set it up. So the
Fantastic.
next question, Dylan, her next question on hotels. So hotels actually already pay a very high rate. As I pointed out earlier, there are non-residential. We don't subdivide our non-residential because we have different meter sizes. Different hotels have different meter sizes, but they all pay 117% of their cost to use water. So they're already paying the highest possible rate that we
Good to know.
charge.
That's encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've had several other people mention that, and it's not something we're going to address this time around, but we're definitely putting it on the list of ideas for the next rate study, which will start in a few years. Thank you.
Thank you. I did see the desalination is where you spent some of the money over the past 5 years, which is a fantastic piece of news. Someone asked me in New York a couple of days ago about that, and I had to defer. I did not know the answer. So we are doing some desalination now.
Yes, we are,
Awesome.
ma'am. We're just starting that project, and that also is under Barry's purview. And Margaret, I can't answer anything about the sewer, but maybe Director Krucky, the next time he comes, can help with that question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your explanations
Thank
to
you, ma'am.
everyone, and particularly you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you, sir. Aloha.
Aloha. Okay, with that, we are looking at going towards our committee reports. I don't know that we have any committee reports this month for environment, parks and rec, planning and zoning, or traffic and safety. Yes, in person. Go ahead.
Yes, it's Dylan here. I believe Vice Chair Velasco would like to report on her meeting that she held.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry, Arlene. That completely spaced me because I wasn't able to go to it. So, but you did have a meeting, so please, yes, let us know what happened in the environment report.
Yes.
Committee,
So
yeah.
we didn't have a good attendance. It was only Roger Babcock and Angie and Linda Wong, but it was a very productive meeting. We got a lot of information from him as to how the city determines where they're gonna upgrade their sewages, and what for me, I mean, Angie and Linda, you can chime in, but it was educational as far as there is no big push to upgrade our septic systems and our sewage systems. And I think that as a community, we all should get together and realize that it's if we leave the system as it is, we're going to be in a lot of trouble in the next 10, 15 years. It's not going to be soon, but we need to think ahead. That's my take of the whole meeting. Eva Beach, the city is saying that, they're gonna hook up 1,000 homes and they're gonna upgrade. But still, what bothers me really about this the whole system that the city's taking is that the city is saying they're gonna place the sewage lines, and then it's up to the individual homeowners to hook up into the sewage lines. And it's not cheap for, like an average homeowner. It's between $10,000 to $15,000 in the Eva community, which is a low level, no pumps needed community. So that was kind of that was my take of the meeting. And Angie and Linda are willing, they were there, and they can add.
Yeah, I can add a little bit. It was very educational. We had essentially 2.5 hours of just, we could ask all of the questions that we ever thought about sewage. That was, thank you for organizing that, Arlene. But a lot of it seemed like the, well, the county has a lot of ideas. They're trying to think of different ways to do it, but there was no timeline. And I think that's more of the opportunity that I got out of it. Because essentially the director was just, we're looking at different ways, doing all of this, but there was no real teeth or enforcement for the no cesspools by 2050. Or if it violates any of that, there's no real enforcement for that. So I think, yeah, it was just about pushing urgencies and to get more of a clear timeline.
Yeah, exactly. That was my take on it too. It's, everyone recognizes it's a problem, but there's not a sense of urgency in the government. And I would like to get that sense of urgency in the government, because I think it's important. So,
Margaret, did you have a question?
No, I was going to talk about our meeting with Roger Morton,
Okay.
traffic and public safety, just real fast.
Yeah,
Last week,
if there's
can I
not
do that?
any more questions or comments about
I would like to have one question to the community. I mean, is this important to you? I would like to get some input.
Cesspools are really important.
All right, so we're gonna continue this then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Arlene, I did have a question about, you said you didn't feel like it was a big deal for, I guess, either the city or the state.
They
and-
don't seem very concerned about the urgency to converting the cesspools even their priority ones. They're like, well, we know it's a problem, but it's.
Do you think that, are there enough, I mean, did you look at issues like subsidies or credits or things that the taxpayer might fund or through grants?
We asked, and Angie's there, and Linda was there. We asked, but I think it requires a little. This is a start of the impact of getting the community involved, and like you said, getting everyone involved.
Okay.
So it's a good meeting. I think it was a good start, and let's get everyone involved.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that it is, I mean, surprisingly that area has one of the highest rates on the island. But I don't see an urgency in the State House. But if you're a homeowner and you're already faced with increasing taxes and everything else, and you're looking at, 50 or $100,000 to convert your system over or get rid of it, that's so onerous on a homeowner. I can see why it just isn't going anywhere yet, and they're just waiting down the road until the house gets sold, and then it's forced conversion at that time. So I don't know if there's some way we could look at, asking our state legislators. I know that I think it was Chris Lee had put forward something last year, a couple years ago, but I don't know where that went. I think it just didn't get advanced. Is it?
Chair,
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
ma'am.
think that we need to write a resolution or some kind of correspondence to the legislature that we need a timeline, and then we need for the government to stick to the timeline. There is no timeline of when to convert different kinds of property to join the sewer program. They've got it all figured out what will happen when, but it's not in writing, and we need it in writing.
Oh, thank you, Linda. But
Yeah.
the law says 2050. Everyone has to be done by 2050, but that's it.
There's
apparently,
no plan.
yeah, exactly. There's no plan, and if you don't push people, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
Okay, and I see there's someone in person there has a question or comment.
Chair, it's just me, Dylan. I just wanted to thank Arlene for working with us to hold her committee meeting. I know it wasn't that easy, but we did help her get a facility at Pocky Hollow, in person only. It just made it easier for everyone involved. And thank you for submitting your minutes. If they weren't already posted to our website, they will be tomorrow morning. So check that out. And that's just a reminder for anyone that wants to do a committee meeting. Please contact me. FYI, I will be out of town the end of this month, but we need an agenda just like regular board meetings. And then the committee is responsible for submitting the draft meeting minutes. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Arlene.
All right.
Dylan, can you also explain about the in-person requirement and that why you had to do it at Pocky Hollow, and does it require an online version or not?
Oh, absolutely. So online is never required. In person, always required. So that was something that was suspended. It was always in place for a few years, but due to COVID, the governor suspended that requirement. And that's why all these board meetings were allowed to go virtual only. I believe in March of 2022, that was lifted and everyone had to go back to, you could do hybrid meetings, but you had to at least bare minimum have an in-person location. So because the NCO does not have the staff available to offer every single board's committee someone like myself to facilitate the hybrid meeting, we recommend, it's not impossible, but we recommend that the committees do in-person only to reduce any issues that the committee chairperson may have. Because if your tech, let's say you decided to do a hybrid meeting and the virtual side doesn't work, whether it's something wrong with the connection or you don't have the equipment that you were supposed to, the meeting is no longer legal. It would just be informational only, and it wouldn't really be a good thing to restrict everyone online and there's only a few people in person, or if there are a bunch of people in person and only a few online, vice versa. So the requirement is in person, you have to do, you can do virtual. Our office was able to lend not the same one I'm looking at right now, but a smaller projector to Arlene in the event that she wanted to post anything on the wall. I do want to note that it was very bright in the day still. I think the meeting was at 5 or 5:30. So if you do want to have a meeting in a room that is well lit like that, maybe go a little later in the evening. Pocky Hollow, the reason for that was that's a city facility. We're very tight on budget. And we already are working with all the boards to get them locations near or within their district, and everything comes at a cost. So Pocky Hollow is a city park. I believe it's free. We would definitely encourage all the committees to meet there. It's in your district. It's a nice place.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dylan. It was a wonderful place, and thank you, Linda and Angie and Roger. It was a good meeting, even though it was only the four of us. Thank you.
You, Arlene. And Margaret, you want to?
Yeah, just really
Oh.
quick. That's why I didn't have a committee meeting. I didn't want to have, I mean, the sunshine law applies too. Dylan didn't mention that, but we also, you have to provide all of the equipment and all of that. It was just too much. So anyway, last week we had some community members and a couple of the board members at the DTS office with Roger Morton. And this was in regard to Diamond Head Road, the issues that we're having with speeding and all of that. He has some really good new engineers on staff. The old crabby ones that don't want to change have retired. And he's also working with Ed Sniffen at the state. And the state has way more money and can get things done way faster with without all the studies and stuff. And so he's been, he's really excited about that. So we discussed having, was it speed bumps? What are they called, Winston?
Speed humps.
not
Aren't they the
humps.
humps?
Yeah, like they put on Capiolani where that little girl got killed on
Yes.
Diamond Head Road, and they had we had a couple of the neighborhood guys, you know, that came down, like Kendrick and the neighbor that had taken the photos of that horrible car accident. And anyway, they agreed, and we're going to talk to the state. Got Ed Sniffen, and they're going to put something together for us that we may be slowing things down. He
Well,
also
Kendrick said that it was traffic calming, and the suggestion was
excuse me.
to do the speed humps.
No, excuse
And
me.
then
Excuse
we
me.
asked.
Hang on, Noella.
Yeah, Noella, I'm not finished. Okay, then we discuss, okay, speed bumps, not speed bumps, they were speed whatevers. Anyway, he also said, which was really good news for us traffic wise, is they're finally putting a cap on parades and block parties on Kalakaua. And I think they're only going to be 9 a year. They have to do the First Amendment ones, but they're going to start screening them and stopping them. And so it's going to be a lot easier for us to get around. So anyway, that's the end of my thing. And Noella, you go for it if Winston allows.
Noella, did you?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Margaret. Sometimes I forget that this is a format, but Kendrick said traffic calming, and yeah, that's all I was trying to clarify, and I do apologize for interrupting. But it's a good report.
Okay, and did we set a date when we were going to re-meet with him? Margaret, did we put that out there in concrete, or just it was in?
No, I didn't put it in concrete, but I will. And if anybody else is interested in coming, I know for committee meetings, we have to have a sunshine law thing and all of that. But I was just trying to, you know, keep it short and sweet. And I had actually put Roger in touch with Ed Sniffen because I was complaining about the no right turn on reds last month with him. So that's how, and one thing that was really interesting was that the state didn't know that the Hilton's trying to put in a new, you know, 36-story tower where Kobe Steakhouse is. And they also didn't know, he didn't know, this is Ed Sniffen, the head of DPTS, did not know that the city has intentions of closing down Kalakaua for 9 months to rehab it. No idea. So it was interesting after my meetings with them, and then I put a email together, kind of not, I'm not taking credit for it, but putting them together, say, you guys need to talk, you know, because they had no idea. And I was just down there bitching about the no right turns on red, screwing up the traffic because the lights aren't synchronized on all Moana. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Margaret. With that, we're at the end of our committee reports. Reports of board members attending other meetings affecting Diamond Head Neighborhood Board. Did anyone attend any other meetings affecting the Diamond Head Neighborhood Board?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I went to the Waikiki Neighborhood Board the other night. It now is online, but it's just a test. And it was Lloyd was there, I think, observing, and it was kind of interesting. They've got this, they were putting the same people in place to review the EISs. And I think that's where we get our Hilton sneaking in, you know, the big 36 tower. I think that's what happens. And then all of a sudden this stuff is approved, and the complete streets and the bridge. And they had definitely approved the bridge a long time ago, and he wasn't having any discussion on that at all. So he runs a very tight ship there, but they don't really, they're starting to let the public talk. But my whole thing is complete streets don't shut down all the way to double bike lanes. You know, that's crazy. But even the mayor says that he's crazy. That's crazy.
Okay, was there or any other attendance at any other meetings? Okay, I would like to be noticed that we are out of time. We have our approval meeting minutes. And I would just like to say on these, I think since now we have a secretary that he might go back and look at these other meeting minutes where there need to be some corrections made. I noticed Dylan had sent out on April 13th some proposed corrections to I'm sorry, maybe this is right, on March of 2023. We also had some corrections suggested for the February meeting minutes, and those aren't the ones that I think we would be looking at. Is that right, Dylan? So we maybe want to look at some corrections or sending out, especially to the new members of the board who may not have some corrected meeting minutes, especially from February, March, and possibly other months.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I know that there were some corrections proposed, but then there was some debate about those corrections from other board members. At the end of the day, I think we should continue this conversation at the next meeting.
Okay.
Because we
Yeah,
are
I
at our
just say
time
one
limit.
more
So if you
thing.
want to just do the announcements and we can call this meeting. to
I
order.
just want to say one more thing about the Waikiki board meeting. Somebody was correcting the minutes. They had actually put in writing that a proposal had been approved and it actually hadn't been approved. It had failed. And then the chair had wanted them to publish it, send it out the way it was incorrectly with amendments to follow.
Okay, well, it's an important point to get your meetings.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do that. So Dylan, I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead. And I know we're
Okay.
virtually out of time here. So any announcements you wanted to make?
Oh, no, I just wanted you to read just the next meeting and then you can adjourn the meeting.
Sure, it's going to be next Thursday, October 12th at 6 p.m. Same place, same time. So thank you all for coming tonight. We had an easy meeting and a relatively calm. So let's continue that and we'll work on these meeting minutes. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your September, and aloha for now.
Aloha.